Always an incredibly moving ceremony, the path between football and particularly the history of the VFL and our Anzacs and our war veterans inextricably linked from 1897, from the league's beginning, through to 1972 when Australia's involvement in their last major conflict ended. There were 8,000 VFL footballers. 2,500 of them served in the Defence Force in some capacity. That is 30% of all players, including 6 VFL footballers who died on that morning in Gallipoli back on the 25th of April in 1915. One of them, Alan Cordner, who played 3 games for Geelong. He was just 24. And Charlie Fincher, who played for South Melbourne. He was a year younger at just 23 years of age. So football lost so many players during that period, as Australia did. More broadly, 13 Geelong players died in war, 9 in the First World War, 4 in the Second. And for South Melbourne, they lost a staggering 20 players during the war years, 10 in the First World War and another 10 in the Second. This is Grandstand AFL's coverage of the Anzac weekend, of course, in the AFL. It is round 6 of the premiership season, and Patrick Dangerfield shaking hands with Callum Mills in the middle of the ground. It also doubles up as the grand final rematch, of course, between the Cats and the Swans, and a homecoming for Geelong as they unfurled the 2022 premiership flag a little earlier in the evening. My name's Corbin Middlemass. There is one late change. John Segler is out. He and his partner gave birth to their first child, a little boy, earlier today, so as a result he's not playing. Sam Simpson gets the start in the 22, and the Medi subs are Mitch Nevitt, who's playing his first game for the year for Geelong, and Will Gould, who backs up after making his debut as the sub last week, is the sub for Sydney. Ben Cameron's here to call the footy alongside me. Good evening, Ben.
Good to be here, Corb. The toss of the coin, Patrick Dangerfield has won it. He's pointed to the Barwon River end of the ground.
Thanks, Ben. And our Grandstand AFL experts, 2 men who both wore the number 9 for Essendon, one who managed to play a few games for St Kilda as well and went reasonably well there. And now, of course, working back at the Saints is Brendan Goddard. Hello, Beach.
Hello, boys. How are you?
Just turn that on for us.
Well,
there we go.
The cough button was on, being that you couldn't hear me. But yeah, good to be back down into. Managed to travel down. Benny's first time at Caninian Park, coming across from Perth. Now calls himself a Melbourneite, but that's all right, Melburnian, should I say. But looking forward to it. Haven't seen or scouted these 2 teams being at St Kilda and haven't played them, so haven't seen them. So looking forward to seeing what they have to offer.
Oh, we get the raw thoughts from you today. Adam Ramanauskas was with me last week to watch both these teams in the flesh in Adelaide. Hello, Rama.
Well, hello. 3rd week in a row now with the Cats. Saw them against Hawthorn, now West Coast, now Sydney. Watched the Swans last week. Very impressive, particularly in that second half.
Lauren Porter is with us on the boundary. Good evening, Loz.
Hello, Corby. It's so nice to be down here tonight. I don't think I've been at Cardinia Park when there hasn't ever been wind, but tonight, pretty pristine conditions, a lovely day. Obviously, the unfurling before the match set for a big one tonight that Geelong will keep hoping those celebrations continue.
Here we go. The grand final rematch, revenge or repeat? You're with Ben Cameron on Grandstand AFL.
No Segler, so Blitzarb's in the ruck, leaves it behind. Warner onto the football for Sydney, tumbles it towards half forward. Onto it, Stewart knocks it to his own advantage, gets a handball away, close to the boundary line. Harry Cunningham will carry it out, and we'll get a throw in between wing and right half forward for the Swans, attacking the City end of the ground in this opening term. As Loz mentioned, the unfurling of the premiership flag for Geelong earlier tonight.
The Cats in their blue shorts at home and the white and blue hoops, of course, and Sydney wearing their more traditional jumper out of Sydney, of course, with the outline of the Opera House as they work the footy up towards the wing. The Cats, Cam Guthrie's got it. He's tackled, taken to ground. Circles. Gee, it looked like he was going to pay holding the ball. In the end, he says, I'll have it. And the ball up.
Well, amazingly, right at the moment, Callum Mills is playing on Tom Hawkins.
Wow. Undersized defence again for Sydney. They didn't get any help in that department from last week as Myers first clean possession, hand pass to Blitzarms. He's met solidly and taken a little high, and the oncoming tackle from Braden Campbell just got him over the shoulder. So Blitzarms will get the free front edge of the centre square for Geelong.
Adjusts the headband, eventually gives it off to Smith, running around the back on that long left leg. He goes long towards full forward. Cameron brings it to ground. Lloyd there for the Swans. Stolen by Close. Handball errant. Now he knocks it on. They'll get back, though, the Swans. They'll be able to work it out. Fox away to Lloyd. A high ball towards half-back. Coming up, launching at the footy there is Francis. He can't quite bring it down. Now loose footy here for the Cats with Cameron.
His kick is smothered. Ricochets back to the wing. Hayward had a play on it. Tackle dispossessed. Says a throw. Free kick for Geelong. And Big Sab Radaglia is going to take the free. So just repeating, Mitch Nevitt, the sub, 20-year-old for Geelong, and for Sydney it's Will Gould. And Sam Simpson is playing his first game since the 2021 quali. Kicks to the top of the goal square. Rowan against his old team competes. Spills down to Simpson. He's tackled high. Free kick for Sam Simpson. 20 out, dead in front. What a return this would be, having missed all of last season.
Well, he's in low there, Simpson, to get that free kick. Probably fumbled it a little bit, Beach, there. So lucky, really, that the tackle did go high.
You made mention of Mills playing. It was interesting driving. I was thinking about who they're actually going to play on their tools, but I think he's going to get a little bit of help there with Blakey potentially dropping off that high half forward that they leave up the ground, and it's arguably Tom Hawkins against 2 tonight, which I think is a smart move.
Sam Simpson socks up, puts it through, and every Geelong player on the ground rushes to him. He's played just the 4 games since he was concussed in the 2020 Grand Final. Of course, part of a losing team that day. Had all sorts of injuries through last season. Didn't play a single match, just 4 in 2021, and here he is in 2023 in round 6. Upon his return after some 600 days, kicks the first goal of the night. Geelong 1 straight, Sydney yet to score, Grandstand AFL.
So let's have a little look at this. So we've mentioned Mills and Hawkins. The other one then is obviously Jeremy Cameron. That's Robbie Fox. But what Sydney want to do is they want to roll back a winger at the moment, which is Harry Cunningham, and then free up Nick Blakey. Nick Blakey at the moment is standing next to Gary Rowan. Nick Blakey then becomes the spare to come in as that third man in the contest to try help out Robbie Fox and Cal Mills.
Back in the middle, Laddams wins the tap down, Rowbottom onto the footy, Blitzarves, he breaks that tackle, Rowbottom, low ball inside 50 for the Swans. Stewart can't quite gather it, Papley, 6 in the second half last week. His kick smothered, ricochets away, spills out to Hayward, who snaps on goal, and the Swans get the instant reply. Straight out of the centre, bounce down inside 50, and Hayward snaps it through. It's 1 straight 6 apiece through the opening 4 minutes here on Grandstand AFL.
An ex-teammate of mine, Aaron Francis, had a little bit of a hand in that, which we debated before the game, Corbin, where he would play. He's starting up forward, but just want to keep highlighting what Rama and I were talking about, just how they're going to get that support in defence. So there's a number of ways of doing it. There's the wing folding back to release Blakey, but what Geelong actually do is they often send one up to the stoppage, and it can be Smith at times. It's close. It's one of their smalls to get up the ground and to provide support to the stoppage. But then they can then rip back and get back towards goal, get front of square, particularly at the feet of Hawkins or Cameron. But what it looks like happening, the simple way of doing it is Blakey, he's playing on that high haul forward that comes up, and he'll actually drop off him to actually support the defence, is where I think tonight, which they'll need it.
Early goal for both teams. Crooked bounce in the middle will be recalled.
And we've seen the success of Blitzarves in the ruck as well. So as much as they'd like him and his flexibility with Segler in the team, but it might be a bit of a blessing that you might, his ability to get around the ground, particularly on someone like Laddams, that isn't overly agile, but that might be a blessing in disguise.
Chucks it up the second time. Laddams sleeps high. Got a little touch on it on the way down. Warner bottom of the pack. Eventually spills out to O'Connor. Still no clean disposal. Knocks it to Gordon, who's bottom of the pack there for Sydney. He's tackled by Blitzarves. Circles. Gordon's in trouble, holding the ball. Didn't release it, and a free kick going the way of the Cats. He takes it by hand quickly to O'Connor, drives the kick to the top of the goal square. Cameron down there, caught in a wrestle, Rowan sockles it goalward. He's offline and behind. So Geelong 1-1, Sydney 1 straight. 5.5 minutes in, just repeating the late change. No Segler. Simpson is starting in the 22, and he's already kicked a goal. Mitch Nevitt the sub for Geelong, and Will Gould for Sydney.
Blakey with the kick in, runs his measure, kicks up towards the wing, and Heaney in front strong. He's paid the mark. He'll have it at left half back here for Sydney. Isaac Heaney, All-Australian last year in the coaches' votes last week. Kicks long towards a contest on the wing. Radicalea goes up, falls for Stewart. Handball to Atkins to Dangerfield. Duncan zigzagging through the middle. Handball over the top from Myers to Atkins, knocked down by the Swans. They halve the contest, free kick.
So that's not a free kick against Mitch Duncan. Gordon's gone in there with his head, and Duncan tried to get out of the way.
Initiated the contact.
That's right, Gordon initiated the contact.
Gordon swings his kick wide to Roberts, the only teenager on the ground, marks in front of the interchange.
And that's what we want out of our game. We want to protect the head. So Gordon should not do that, because if he gets hit in the wrong spot, he's concussed.
Roberts goes laterally to Lloyd. He's going to continue to shift out to the eastern side, finds Mills. Defensive side of halfway, kicks to the outer wing, and here's Cunningham. Takes the mark, dishes off the hand pass to Blakey. He's kept on running, heads down to half forward, and Patley takes the mark. What a second half last week. Kicked 6 all after half time. And 25 to go with it as well. There's very few players in the game that can do that. He just chips it over the man on the mark, and Heaney marks on the junction of the 50 and the boundary line. He's caught in somewhat of a slow play here, Isaac Heaney.
Just to paint the picture, there's 16 Geelong players inside of Sydney's forward 50, so they've chosen the slow route and now relying on Heaney. Don't be surprised if this goes to the top of the square, but rely on him to kick a goal from on the boundary for 50.
That's where he kicks it, right to the hot spot. McDonald flies, it's whacked away from him. Spills down Geelong's way. It comes to O'Connor. He's tackled and will have a ball up 20 metres out from the Swans goal. They're kicking to the city end. That stand still isn't complete, by the way, which Rama, you and I were a little surprised about, but not so much Brennan Goddard.
Latham slaps it away. Stewart with the clearing kick, though, for Geelong. Blakey goes up and gathers on the bounce. Handball to Cunningham. He's taken down in a quick tackle by Holmes. Wrapped up and we'll get a ball up. Right half forward for the Swans. Geelong lead by a point. Umpire puts it up. Lathams knocks it down towards Goulden. Trying to move through congestion. Loses it. Caught holding the ball. And the Cats will get it back. Atkins will have it at left half back. Geelong 1-1-7, Sydney 1 straight 6, 8 minutes and change.
Atkins back to Duncan, kicks across the defensive goal face, Rada Galea in the back pocket. The last time I was here was actually for the T20 Cricket World Cup. They played some qualifying matches here. So they have had some developments from there, but a whole lot of concrete, no seats as yet at that city end. As the kick from Rada Galea to a contest on the wing, spills down to Kolajasny, kicks to half forward. Hawkins involved. Mills clever. Just paddles it to McInerney. Back to Mills. Hand pass away to Blakey. Oh, he kicks inboard. Kicks it straight to Myers at high half forward for the Cats.
Myers sells a little candy. Kicks a low ball. Blitzarves. Gathers low down. Snaps on goal. Brilliant from the big man. Gathers on the half volley and snaps truly from 40. The Cats have a couple there. 2-1-13. Sydney 1 straight 6. 9 minutes played opening term.
And this is the challenge, I think, for Lathams. With Blitzar, we know how athletic he is and how he pushes from one end of the ground to the other, but he was standing inside forward 50 by himself for a long time there. So he's really going to test Lathams aerobically, I think, early in this game. Try break him down. Lathams was pretty good last week for the Swans, the way he went about it. Now, we know Segler being delayed out. It's just I love the versatility of a player like Mark Blitzar. He's probably set for maybe a Chad Warner or even a Isaac Heaney or someone like that. But then it's Chris Scott taps him on the shoulder and says, "Oh, you're playing in the ruck today, son."
Swiss Army knife, isn't
he?
Brisbane beat the Giants by 21, and earlier today Port Adelaide by 40 over West Coast. 3 standalone games Saturday of round 6 from the restart. Comes down the way of Holmes and the quick centre break for the Cats to half forward, and Rowan just a bit of body on Campbell and then takes the mark left half forward, 48 out.
So it's a big night for Geelong, I think, the half forwards, just to keep engaging Sydney's half backs, because they're in the back of their mind, they're always going to have Tom Hawkins is behind me, Jeremy Cameron, and most of the time both of them, we know Cameron gets higher up the ground and can get back and use his pace and aerobic ability, but it's a big night for them just to hold the Sydney half-backs in particular accountable.
Played in his 4th grand final last year, 2 for the Swans, 2 for the Cats. He's a thumping kick of the footy as Gary Rowan's kick fades left. Behind, 2-2 to 1 straight. Geelong by 8 points early. We've travelled 11 minutes, quarter number 1 on Grandstand AFL. Corbin Middlemass, Ben Cameron, Adam Ramanauskas, Brendan Goddard and Lauren Borden, your call team tonight.
Blakey runs himself into a little bit of a dead end, goes short to Campbell, who draws the man, gives the handball away. Fox with a long kick towards the wing, looking for a marker down there, and Radagalea intercepts it for the Cats on the logo. He'll come infield with his kick to Stewart. Stewart will go up the middle. Looking for a marker, Rowan launching high, can't quite drag it down. Cam Guthrie coming through, socket on by Atkins, inside 50, Fox a little fumble, he goes in again, loses it, Myers there for the Cats, he loses it, loose footy, lots of players around it, the umpire's whistle comes, ball up.
It's just that little fumble by Robbie Fox, got to take that ball, one grab, get it out of the danger zone.
Up it goes, Hawkins rucking along with Lathams, Lathams wins the hit out. Spills down to Cam Guthrie, trying to beat the Gordon tackle. Got a hand pass out, no clean pick up for the Cats. Comes to Simpson, hand pass away to Holmes. He's tackled immediately. And a ball up as Roberts stops him there. Centre half forward for Geelong. 2-1. Geelong's way, an early 8-point lead from the ball up. Comes down to Cam Guthrie, got boot the ball to the top of the goal square for Hawkins. Too strong as he breaks away from Cal Mills and marks 15 out dead in front.
You see BJ there, how he just stuck his backside out, protected that landing zone where he knew the ball was going, and Mills can't do anything about that. Like, as brave as Mills is as a player, and it's a huge job for him, but he's just not going to be able to he's not going to be able to physically match Tom Hawkins.
No, it's a little bit unfair, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's all they have. So that's where I think the reliance on their halfbacks to create support. But if they're able to create isolation on Tom Hawkins on a night, Sydney are in a bit of trouble.
Hawkins on his way in, no problems from there, stabs it through. And Geelong with the early break, as they had in the final game of last season. The Cats 3-2, Sydney a 1 straight. Hawkins kicked a couple of early goals that day as well. He finished with 7 scoring shots and 3 goals for. And Geelong by 14 early, Rama and BJ.
Well, you just feel like, BJ, that having Aaron Francis going down to full forward now, he's at least of some size to have him down the other end of the ground. Where, you know, Tom Hawkins is a big man, and players have struggled on him for many, many years now in terms of when he engages with them in a show of strength. But I just don't see how Cal Mills is going to be able to handle that. If they're able to isolate their forwards, as you were talking about earlier, it's going to be a long night for Cal Mills.
I think on the
Tom
other side
Hawkins.
of it, they've tried to think that if Mills can actually get off him because we know Tom Hawkins' ability to run and chase out of forward 50 is lacking sometimes, so he's able to get on the end of it offensively. Maybe it just covers his underside, or a couple of those contested marks that Tom will take around the ground, but maybe just hurt him on the other end.
We'll get a secondary ball up in the middle. What about the Medi sub, Will Gould?
Again,
Could have started him on the ground.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
A little bizarre.
Now, he's still undersized also, but he's a bigger body than Cal Mills.
Laddams with the clearance towards half forward. Zach Guthrie stands up and takes the mark on the defensive edge of the square for the Cats. Gives it off to Duncan, who stabs it short. Kolajasny. He'll kick towards half forward. Cameron coming up at the footy. In behind him, Fox. Bouncing ball as it goes over their head onto it, O'Connor. Cats back with it. Cameron, flying shot from 49. Bringing it back. It won't quite be enough. It'll fall short. It comes to ground. Mills doing a good job halving the contest out of play, throwing left forward pocket. The Cats by 14 played opening term.
Robbie Fox got the job again on Jeremy Cameron. He was one of their few winners on grand final day. Robbie Fox had 26 himself, kept Jeremy Cameron to 2 on a day when they kicked about 104 from the boundary throw-in. Hawkins grabbed it out of the right and dispossessed. Spills to Laddams. Hand pass away to Cunningham. Back pocket. High up and under for Sydney to half-back. They come from all directions. Cameron got a touch on it. Spills down to Kolajasny. Cats back with it. Hand pass to Atkins. Heads inside 50. Henry hitting up. Throws his body at it and takes the mark. And Ollie Henry can shoot from 40 out. True centre-half forward.
Great mark, great kick, BJ. I think you look at Kolajasny there in the contest. Spun out. Was able to give the handball to Atkins, and then Ollie Henry's got that ability to jump in the air and take a chest mark because he gets so high off the ground. Just doesn't allow your defender a chance.
Ollie Henry still hasn't played a game with his brother Jack on the injury list. As Henry moves in, his kick is pure. And this has got some similar trimming to the last time they met. The Cats with the fast start. They're 4-2-26. Sydney flat-footed. 1 straight 6. It is Geelong by 20 points, and we've only travelled 15 minutes into quarter number 1.
The other side of it Sydney would have been thinking about is around the stoppage and the contest. So the old one is you stop it at the source. So to limit Hawkins in particular and Cameron's impact on the game, win it around the contest, because that's where they're able to create isolation, particularly from centre square bounce. So around the contest generally, then you can get set up in front and behind the ball. So I think it's the challenge of the Sydney midfielders too, to get on top around the stoppages to actually minimise and dry up the source and the supply that the Tom Hawkins and Jeremy Cameron do. So right now, Sydney midfielders have to lift and get on top because they've had little time in their front half and they're getting beaten around the stoppages.
So the Cats with the last 3. Holmes gets it off hands from the restart. He's tackled quickly.
And to back that up, BJ, clearances are 7-4. Inside 50s are 8-2, all in Geelong's favour.
The Koning and McLean in the ruck. McLean knocks it away, going after it. Stevens. Dangerfield gets a handball out. O'Connor backward of the wing here for the Cats, twisting and turning, kicking on his left in the Cameron direction. Fox outbodies him, can't take the mark, gathers at ground level. Handball to McLean, handball to McInerney. Now they work it out again here. The Swans. Fox, he goes back again, close to the boundary line, tackled out, and we'll get a throw in at left half forward. McInerney carried out. 17 minutes played opening term, 20 points, the Cats' advantage.
It's just a pocket of Sydney fans. They've got 2 blocks on about a half-forward flank. Now watching a lot of balls go inside 50 for Geelong, though, at that end of the ground early, as Parker sends a hand pass away to Clark. He's pushed in the back. And a tackle from Myers, and Ryan Clark, who's playing his first game for the year. And 27 last week. And the Magoos coming back from a hamstring injury. He kicks long to the logo on that eastern wing. Radical here just punches it back forward for Geelong, and Dangerfield's there at the drop. Collects, hand pass to Myers, high half forward, heads inside 50. Cameron leaping up at full stretch, hangs onto it at centre half forward. And there's some worrying signs, Rammer and Beach early, for John Longmire and these Swans.
You look what Geelong are doing at the moment. They're getting their half forwards high. So that's then allowing a lot of space for Hawkins, and on that occasion, a lot of space for Jeremy Cameron to work in.
As usual, approach as he squeezes the footy on the end, trying to push it back into some kind of kicking shape. Jeremy Cameron from straight in front. His left-footed drop punt sails straight through. And this is all too familiar for the Swans. 5 goals to 1 for the reigning premiers. 5-2 to 1 straight. On grand final day, Rammer, they kicked 7 goals to 1 to start the match by the 4-minute mark in the second term. We're only 18 minutes into quarter number 1 here.
So I know we talked about the lack of height and matchups for Sydney in the front half, but what they're actually struggling with at the minute is to deal with the pressure that Geelong have on them, particularly around the ball. A bit of overuse, particularly in that far pocket in front of the scoreboard, Just simplify it, get it forward, get a stoppage, reset. They're making it harder on themselves, and they're getting beaten around the contest, as we highlighted, particularly around stoppages. So John Longmire, as much as he's trying to plug holes in his defence, I think there's some questions will be asked at quarter time already, and there's still 10 minutes to go, just around their contest work and their ability just to absorb the pressure of Geelong at the minute.
From the restart, De Koning slaps it down, loose footy, McLean onto it for the Swans, gives it off to Warner. Can he get them going? A high ball towards half forward, standing underneath it. A strong mark for Bowes. At centre half back for the Cats, chips it short, and Cam Guthrie comes up and marks. Kick the last 4 now, the Cats. He's looking for a leading Cameron. Fox gets a fist in. Loose footy picked up by Parker for the Swans. Handball to Fox, to Hayward, running forward of the logo. Kicks long towards full forward. Papley going back with the flight. He marks 25 out directly in front.
He snuck out very nicely there, Papley. I can't say he's a direct opponent.
It's the last man you'd think that you'd be giving so much space to in Sydney's forward line. So he came from the off-ball side to the corridor. I know it's the old one. They take the risk to go through the corridor. It was great defence by Fox to be close enough to spoil Jeremy Cameron, because it was hitting him on the chest, but to turn it over in the middle of the ground, it's pretty hard to defend the other way.
A live wire from 30 metres out to ignite the Swans. He kicks the goal. Their second of the evening. Boy, did they need it. Geelong 5-2-32. Sydney 2 straight 12. 20 and a half minutes played opening term. Brendan Goddard, Adam Ramanauskas.
The ball did turn over for Sydney. But you're just looking at the space. I'm just looking now who's going to go directly to...
Stewart was on him earlier.
To Tom Papley. It is Stewart.
Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of the halfbacks. They fan, they try and make the ground big to get used in offence, and then when a turnover comes in the middle of the ground, quite often you have your direct opponent nowhere near you because they've stayed in team defence or in a zone, you could say. So I think that's where he's found his space. It's not like Tom Stewart totally disrespecting him. It's just that Tom's tried to get used in offence, and when a turnover comes in such a vulnerable spot, Papley finds himself in a bit of space. 5
goals to 2. De Koning doing some of the ruck work, palms it down, favoured by the bounce. Atkins missed his boot with the ball, trying to kick it forward, and a heavy tackle laid in the middle as Parker grabs it. Atkins takes him to ground, and the ump says it's a free kick.
Dangerous tackle.
Yes, it's been the big talking point of the week. Free kick for Parker. Sends it out to half forward for the Swans. Big leap from Hayward. Can't come down with the footy. Spills through to Clark. Tackled immediately by Duncan. Ball comes out the Cats' way. Here's Smith off the back flank. Hand pass away to Duncan. Shares it with Bowes. Short kick to Dangerfield. He marks underneath the Reg Hickey stand on the outer wing here at Geelong.
He wheels and goes danger, kicks long towards half forward. The Swans are there though. Blakey brings it down to ground level, then loses it through his legs. Parker goes and gets it. He was taken high as well. He'll get a free kick. So Parker at right half back, right in front of that small pocket of Sydney fans that are in attendance here at Cardinia Park. As Parker goes right back to fullback and Mills, short to Campbell. Now Campbell will wheel and go. Try and bring it towards the broadcast wing. A bit of a dangerous kick. It just finds Stevens. He was impeded. Advantage paid. McInerney takes it.
Shoots a hand pass forward to the run of Florent. Just chips the ball down the wing. Papley collects, runs straight into a tackle from Bowes. He made it stick too. The ball comes out. Stewart, hand pass to Atkins. He's tackled and we'll have a ball up on the wing. Geelong by 20. Time on quarter number 1. 5 of the first 6 goals for the Cats. The hot start as they had on grand final day last year as Stevens puts it on the boot, kicks smothered, spills to Bowes, kicks it forward through the legs of Rowan. Sits okay for Henry, half pass to close, puts it on the chest of Cameron.
See, he's sitting in no man's land there, Nick Blakey. Well, there's no opponent within 30 metres, so I don't know what he's waiting for there. He needs to be a lot closer to Cameron on this occasion to help out.
So squeezing the footies, does that work?
Jeremy Cameron, it does.
In fact, at St Kilda, we've encouraged, as being a former player, the property stewards to get the footies that we're using.
Here's Cameron. He's got one already. He's got 2. He has flushed that from out wide beyond 50. And Geelong reinstate a 26-point advantage. 6-2 to 2 straight. 24 minutes into the opening term, he kicked 2 on grand final day, Jeremy Cameron. One of them came late in the piece. He's got 2 in the first term.
So it's a bit off topic, but I had a real issue when I was playing that we get brand new footies every week.
Yep.
And when I used to kick out from full back and get a few cheap stats, I used to go to the bin of balls and you'd literally look at them sometimes and you would not touch them. You wouldn't give them to your kids to use. They were that bad. And they're brand new footies. So, excuse me. And for some reason, at Essendon late in my career, they wouldn't get out the footies, so the home team supply the footballs for each game. I think there's 6, and then some teams pull them out during the week, so you can kick them in, so by the time you get to the game, you're actually kicking a good footy. And then at St Kilda, we've done that, and people say you don't want to blame your tools, but in this case, if you do get a poor football, it makes a big difference. So essentially, all the Saints footies, home games, they don't have pointy ends. They're all being kicked in during the week, unless it's raining.
Jeremy Cameron the first, multiple goal kicker in the game. Rowbottom emerges with it, back in the middle, kicks the Swans inside attacking 50 in the Heaney direction. Ratugolea goes after it at ground level, can't quite gather it. O'Connor goes in, tackled by Heaney, and it's held in. A ball up 45 metres out from the attacking goal for the Swans. Jeremy Cameron, 24 goals for the season. How close can he get to the century? We'll hold that thought as Bowes trying to bustle through. Kolodjasny kicks up the middle. A good kick. Spots up Brian Myers at centre-half back. The Cats lead by 26 late in the first.
They've got 17 premiership players out there, Geelong, from the last game of last year. And for what it's worth, Sydney also have 17 of the 23 that played in their grand final team as Smith receives the footy, then goes on a run and kicks it high to the wing. Dangerfield in the pack, but spills down Sydney's way. Here's Clark, pokes his kick back down the wing. O'Connor spoils, close to the boundary line, and out it goes. Right on halfway underneath the Reg Hickey stand.
So 4.5 goals a game over 22 games gets you 99.
So he's fractionally behind where he needs to be at this stage, even with, a bag of 7 and a bag of 6. The first 5 rounds for Jeremy Cameron. He's got 2 in the opening quarter here from the boundary throw-in. Laddams wins it down. Non-controlling umpire spots are free. It's going Geelong's way. And even Smith wasn't sure who was getting it, and he thought it was his. It's Tom Atkins' free kick, defensive side of the logo, eastern side of the ground.
Atkins chips it short. Cats play here at Cardinia Park in what is round 24. As the kick goes up towards half forward, Henry handballs it over the top. Smith swats it on, but the Swans are there. Florent gathers inside his defensive 50. Coming one way is Heaney, the other is Duncan. Neither can gather the football. Loose footy here at half forward for the Cats. Handball out, stolen by Lloyd. He will kick back towards the wing, looking for a marker there. Going up McLean. Stewart at the fall of the ball. De Koning gets involved. Handball out towards Kolajasny. Now Kolajasny will go and pick it up. Handball into Duncan.
Duncan shoots it back to Blitzarves, just steps around Gordon and then pumps it deep inside the forward 50. Oh, backing back, great mark. It's exactly what Geelong were looking for, and it's Jack Bowes who's floating into the front half who hangs on to it. It's just a long kick into an open forward line. Bowes had a one-on-one and he won it hands down.
Well, it's arguably the best kick. I know he didn't mean it, but he actually kicked it away from Blakey being the spare. So it's really deliberate now and visible that Sydney's ability to free him up to try and support Paddy Mills on Callum Mills, on Hawkins. But then this is where it's a big night for those half forwards to get involved, get in dangerous positions. They're doing a good job of it so far.
First game for Geelong here at Cardinia Park for Jack Bowes. He misses out to the right. The Cats with an early break. New game high margin, 27 points Geelong's way, 6-3 to 2 straight. 28 gone opening term. The SMS number 0437 774 774.
Lloyd wants to send it out towards the eastern part of the ground. Big pack forms, comes down for Fox. He kicks around the wing and it was out of play. So we'll get a throw in between wing and left half forward for the Cats at the Barwon River end of the ground.
Robin Montmorency off the SMS line, just noting that it looks like a little poppy and names printed on the back of the Geelong jumper. That is the 13 Geelong players that were killed in active service written on the back of their jumper tonight.
Blitzarves takes it out of the ruck, kicks towards full forward. Campbell's there to mop up. Clear and kick though from Mills towards Heaney. He can't quite take the mark. Now going after it, Tui here for the Cats. Gathers the footy at right half forward. Snaps them back inside attacking 50. And the Lizard Blakey's there to take the defensive mark. 25 out from his defensive goal. They lead by 27 at the moment, the Cats.
Goes to the back pocket for Mills. Chips short to Parker. Parker looks for Gordon, who marks at half back.
That mark by Blakey was his first real involvement as being the spare player in this quarter.
Gordon, the lefty, dangerous kick in the middle of the ground. Just got it to his intended target, and it's Florent who takes the mark. Back edge of the centre square. 3 Cats just converging on that ball. Swings the kick out to Cunningham, who marks. Goes short to Campbell. Logo broadcast wing. Short kick to Warner. Just about every player on the ground ahead of him. He's forward of the wing. Hand pass to Campbell. Dishes it off to Cunningham. 70 out. Kicks it to the top of the goal square. They come from all directions. Spills down to Heaney. Snaps Goldwood off the left, but kicks it across the face. Doesn't score. Cam Guthrie marks on the behind line.
Kicks dangerously around the boundary line or low down, and Myers slides in and marks. Brian Myers in the left back pocket. Out by 27, the Cats. Kicked 5 of the last 6 goals of this game. Myers, that unique kicking action. Kicks up towards Cameron. Oh, he can do it all ways, Jeremy Cameron. Working up the ground, taking a mark. Here he kicks it straight into the man on the mark. Warner smothers it. Cameron has to go back and get it. And it's out of play. A throw in at right half forward for Sydney.
No, I don't think Sydney will mind that, him getting the ball up high off the half-back flank. They've actually got numbers behind. They actually had 2 spares then, so you can see their intent. But I think what you'll see from Geelong, we've seen it in the first quarter, is their short kicking, particularly trying to pick apart Sydney's defence, because they have 1 and sometimes 2 sitting back. So there's obviously got to be 1 or 2 spares for Geelong. So they're trying to get those guys involved in offence, and through that, it's more of a kick mark game.
Siren goes as the ball's spun back into play to end the opening term. The grand final rematch. There's really been no correlation in recent times for the first meeting between the grand finalist and the runner-up the next time they go at it. So the Premiers have won 4 of the last 7, but the runner-up has won 6 of the last 11. So really it's almost bang on 50-50 in the last 11 meetings between the Premiers and the runners-up. This time it's the reigning champs who've got the jump on last year's runner-up Sydney, in similar trimmings to the first quarter last year of that grand final. Geelong 6 goals to 2, and they've opened up a 27-point break at quarter time. Jeremy Cameron's kicked a couple. Hawkins has 1. Ollie Henry 1. Sam Simpson 1 on his return. First game in over a year. And Mark Blitzarves has the other. Meanwhile, for Sydney, Will Hayward and Tom Papley have their goals. Earlier today, Port Adelaide by 40 points over West Coast. Connor Rosie best of field with 29 and 2. While Brisbane, in the nation's capital, too good for the Giants by 21 points. Charlie Cameron kicking 7 for the winners. A 21-point win for the Lions. Quarter time here. The thoughts of Adam Ramanaskas and Brendan Goddard in just a moment on ABC Radio, News Radio and Sport Digital. This is Grandstand AFL.
Well, it's not a normal cafe.
We specialise in the milk of the platypus.
Auntie Donna have millions of views. Now the superstars of socials have an ABC TV show and a cafe.
Here's your sandwich, you dingus.
And more celebrity cameos than latte flavours.
Doesn't that sound silly?
Pretty silly to me, Ray.
Auntie Donna's Coffee Cafe. Wednesday nights on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Sam Simpson socks up, puts it through, and every Geelong player on the ground rushes to him.
Stewart can't quite gather it. Papley, 6 in the second half last week. His kick smothered, ricochets away, spills out to Hayward, who snaps on goal, and the Swans get the instant reply. Myers sells a little candy, kicks a low ball, blitz ups, gathers low down, snaps on goal. Brilliant from the big man.
From the ball up, comes down to Cam Guthrie, got boot the ball to the top of the goal square for Hawkins. Hawkins on his way in, no problems from there, stabs it through. And Geelong with the early break. From the ball up, comes down to Cam Guthrie, got boot the ball to the top of the goal square for Hawkins. Hawkins on his way in, no problems from there, stabs it through. And Geelong with the early break. As Henry moves in, his kick is pure. And this has got some similar trimming to the last time they met. Jeremy Cameron from straight in front. His left-footed drop punt sails straight through. And this is all too familiar for the Swans.
To Hayward running forward of the logo. Kicks long towards full forward. Papley going back with the flight. He marks 25 out directly in front. A live wire from 30 metres out to ignite the Swans. He kicks the goal.
Here's Cameron, he's got one already, he's got two. He has flushed that from out wide beyond 50.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
So Geelong again with the fast start against the Swans, a 27-point lead at quarter time. Brendan Goddard and Adam Ramanaskas with their take on that opening term.
Well, it's surprising what Sydney are trying to do with Mills. I just think I'd prefer Mills on Cameron and then Fox. on Hawkins if this is only me. And who am I to tell John Longmire how to coach and who to play on players? But it just looks like if Hawkins gets enough one-on-ones with Mills, which they're doing really well, Geelong at the moment. They had 15 inside 50s in that first quarter for 9 scoring shots. So they're isolating Cameron and Hawkins quite nicely to start this quarter. But I think Blakey's got to have a bigger influence. It took him until very late in that first quarter to have any influence in the defensive 50, and that was with that mark. So his positioning becomes critical, I think, moving forward into this game. What Sydney want to do, and they're just not able to do it, they want to create a rolling stoppage in this game. So the game just goes from stoppage to stoppage to stoppage. At the moment, what they're doing is Geelong are winning the ball back across their half-back line, and then they're able to transition forward. 15 inside 50s for a quarter is really good going to then have 9 scoring shots. So they're playing a smart game, Geelong, where they want to keep speed on the game. Sydney want to slow it down. Geelong go, no, bad luck.
But so Geelong are trying to pick them apart a bit because they've got the spare around the ball. But the problem is, so they want to create support behind the ball, but they're getting that support by coming off Geelong's high half forward. So then that's an issue around the stoppage, right? So they're losing stoppages 12-8. So they're under pressure around the stoppage because Geelong arguably have a plus at their spare at stop plays around the stoppage. So that's their advantage to actually win it, but then they're putting themselves under pressure because they've actually got one less at the stoppage. So they're not winning that. And then, so Callum Mills and Blakey are relying what's happening up the field. But Sydney aren't putting enough pressure on Geelong when they do win the ball in general play and at stoppages. So it's arguably coming in too fast, and they're bypassing the spare, and the spare is actually having little to no impact, being Blakey, because the ball is too free-flowing and it's too much in motion up the field. Sydney got to do a better job to slow it, get pressure on the ball carriers, slow it up, and actually force them into slow play, so therefore Blakey can get in a position to impact.
Yep. So I guess the obvious question is, Wasn't this their plan on grand final day last year that they weren't able to execute and they got lit up the other way?
Well, they didn't have Mills playing on Tom Hawkins.
No.
Same thing, though.
But the same thing happened, and the same things happened in the first quarter.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like the Lupe fiasco line.
So, but where is it falling down? That's the issue that John Longmire, the coach, will be asking
falling
himself.
down to the contest.
It'll be falling out of the contest, but Geelong have a +1. So do you want to bring that equaliser number to give themselves a chance to actually get it forward?
Am I going to say the line?
Say it.
Did you improve on the design? Did you do something new? And at this stage, it's the same result. 27 points. The Cats lead it by a hurried kick forward for the Swans. Papley grabs it, tackled by Stewart, taken to ground, and he's caught holding the ball. Gee, a hot whistle. As soon as Papley got it, and he gets up a little sore as well, and the Stewart chase down tackle. Cats by 27, second term underway. Kicks down to half forward. Dangerfield flies, spills through to Max Holmes. Kicks inside the forward pocket. Mills spoils away from Hawkins. Cameron wanted to keep it alive. He slips out of play. A throw in, 45 out from the Cats goal.
The other part, Corbs, I don't see the point of having Hayden McLean sitting on the bench at the moment. He's nearly 200 centimetres. Just, hey, Hayden, you need to play as a defender tonight.
Yep.
Throwing inside the attacking 50 now for the Cats. Laddams lays it down in front, trying to come through O'Connor. Cunningham onto the football. He's tackled quickly. Ball still loose. Umpire lets them play. Eventually comes in to wall it up. 35 out from the attacking goal for the Cats at the city end of the ground. New stand in the process of being built at this end. Gordon at the bottom of the pack doing the silly salmon. And we'll get it again. Umpire puts it up. Blitzarves hooks it to the back. Myers can't quite gather it. Florent just hacks it out of there. Papley comes up and gathers. Tackled quickly by Duncan. Gets a handball away to Stevens to Rowbottom. Squeezes a kick forward. Stewart, clean bowls him. But Cameron's there to mop up. The Cats with it on the wing.
Stewart got it. Hand pass to O'Connor. O'Connor floats a handball back to Cameron. Picked off by Rowbottom. Loose footy. Parker collects. Tackled by Cam Guthrie. Taken to ground. Ball up between wing and half forward for Geelong. They're kicking to the city end with his new stands being built.
Long time building.
Yeah, I've got a little shake-up from someone off the SMS who's just sort of whacked me into my place. I'll read that in just a moment as Goulden tries to wrestle it free. Pack forms around him. Ump says, I'll have it. Now, this is from 2 Bobsworth in Geelong. The reason why the grandstand isn't finished at Cardinia Park is it's not safe to install inferior steel with inferior welding on the fabrication of the roof sections. Wouldn't want it falling down on the public now, would we?
Here go the Cats. Holmes driving it long towards full forward. Rowan spoiled down by Lloyd. Loose footy. And in over the football in the end is Zach Tui. And a ball up in the right forward pocket here for the Cats. What are they going to call the stand? I reckon there's a pretty obvious answer. We'll answer that. There's a free kick from the ball up and it's going to Hawkins. So dangerous in forward 50 stoppages, and Laddams maybe panicked a little bit. He's infringed and Hawkins will have the kick.
What about the prospect of, like it was named the old Ablett Terrace? It's just all concrete. What about just people coming in and standing on the terrace like the old days? On the concrete?
Suits me.
In a building site.
Yeah.
Of H&S, not happening.
It's probably not, is it?
Stand on empty cans if you're a kid.
In fairness to the people who enjoy it, there is not a spare seat anywhere else in the stadium. So there's obviously the stand missing behind the goals at the end in which Hawkins is kicking at the moment, but every other seat is taken.
It's going to look magnificent when it's finished.
Here comes Tom Hawkins. He's got one from 30 out, slide angle. Now he's got 2. And the Cats start the second term like they started the first with an early goal. 7-3-45. They lead Sydney 2 straight 12, 3.5 minutes into the second.
I think, Berg, you'd agree, Tom Hawkins is the best at inside 50 stoppage in a ruck, a ruck contest. But what other ruckmen, they get intimidated by what he's trying, because he tries to engage. Those other ruckmen are just going to stand off. Just take
It's easy to say.
Just stand off. Just stand off him.
Yeah,
but it's a clear free kick.
What he's so good at doing, and that's why he's such a good contested mark, is that he just protects the drop of the ball.
Yeah.
It's the same at a ruck. The great rucks too, able to protect. I know you've got to start apart these days, but they step across, get across really quickly. A lot of them around the ground, protect the drop zone, then they have a clear hit at it. But he's better at anyone, regardless of size or size of your ruckman, at clearing space and protecting the forward ball.
Cats with 7 of the first 9 goals in the game. It's 33 points already. A fumble from Laddams. Goulden collects. He's tackled. And a ball up again in the middle. Lauren Borden on the boundary.
I was watching John Longmire to see how he'd react at quarter time. He was still pretty positive, patting his players on the back, but he did talk to Peter Laddams. Obviously, he's not going to be happy that he's infringed there, but he did have a bit of a time talking to him.
Thanks, Loz. Good insight from the Sydney huddle there at quarter time. Early stages, second term. Cats going forward again. Atkins through traffic, gives it to O'Connor. Kicks to centre half forward through hands. Spills to Henry. Hand pass to Close. Another one coming up for the Cats. More of the same to start the second term. And that scarring from last year's grand final not too far in the rearview mirror for the Swans. It is 8 goals to 2. 5 minutes into the second term and Geelong's lead balloons to 39 points. 8-3 to 2 straight. Brendan Goddard and Adam Ramanauskas.
I love that, Ben. Well, that's just simple play there. So the ball comes off hands. Ollie Henry in every right to snap the ball, but sees Brad Close coming through at absolute speed, gives a little handball. It's just that unselfish play that the good teams are so well drilled at.
I think it's shaping up for one of those nights. It's just not going to be Hawkins that does the damage or Cameron. It's everything. It's two Sydney players flying there having no impact. I think it was Fox and Campbell had an opportunity to spoil ball. There's a missed tackle early on the ground. So little things like that, coaches, they're the issues that you're trying to address. But there's a number of things now that are going wrong for Sydney across the ground.
Parker tumbles a clearance towards half forward for the Swans. Bouncing ball inside 50. Stewart. Big bump against Roberts. Ball spits out. Now Radaglia turns on the Jets. Handball to Holmes. Goes for a little run. Left foot pass towards Smith is nice. He marks and gives it back to Holmes. He's run on now forward of the wing. Kicking, looking for Rowan. He can't quite take the mark. Under pressure from Mills. Out of play it goes. Throw in left half forward. The Cats leading by 39 points early stages of the second term.
So it was 81, the final margin on grand final day. Is this headed to that kind of company tonight?
Well, 6 goals at the minute. We're only 6 minutes into the second.
Did you take the over or the under?
It's more about the ease of which they're doing it. So I said there's so many problems now. I think the first couple of minutes, Sydney, you could see their intent to actually get after them around the ball.
Warner's hand pass to centre half forward found Stevens. He was tackled immediately, didn't release the footy, and the ump says that's holding the ball too. Free kick for Geelong, 60 out, Bowes to take it. Izzy Smith trying to wrap around the back, of course, the Norm Smith medalist from that day. Bowes in the end just kicks it to the top of the goal square, standing in front of the pack blitz halves, almost took the pack mark. Falls down to Campbell, just pumps it out of the danger zone. McLean forced to fall to Koning, falls down to Hayward, gives it back to McLean, hand pass to Clark, kicks across the ground. And Warner trying to pick up the footy, has a fumble.
He's good enough to recover, gets it onto Parker. Now Heaney runs himself into a dead end. Handballs to space, close onto it for the Cats, gives it off to Cameron. He'll kick inside, attacking 50. Henry comes up, he can't quite mark. Spills down to Rowan, gathers, sells the candy, back to Cameron on the 50. Kick not his best, turns it over. Fox marks, he'll turn and prop and kick towards McLean, who marks just backward of the wing for the Swans.
Of course, McLean was an inclusion for the grand final last year, played his first game since round 8. After John Longmire pulled a selection shock to drop Logan McDonald. And Hayden McLean just whacks it all the way down the wing. Standing in front of the pack, Heaney rips it down. Nice mark, looks inboard, kicks it over the head of Parker to Goulden, collects low down, goes inside 50 to 2-on-1. Zach Guthrie and Hayward fly. Hayward had a fair piece of it. In the end, they both lose it going to ground, and Zach Tui mops it up for Geelong. Short kick to Simpson. Marks at half-back. The Cats lead it by 39 points. 8.5 gone second term.
Simpson, the second-generation Cat, goes back to Cam Guthrie, who kicks it to his brother Zach, just beyond the defensive 50. He's a little unsure, eventually goes short to De Koning. Right on the paint of defensive 50, Cats by 39. Nearly 9 minutes played in the second. De Koning goes for a little run and then goes short to Kolajasny. Kolajasny kicks short to a leading Bowes, and the Cats now just backward of the wing.
Oh, Bowes has one slide off the side of the boot, put Isaac Smith under the pump. Roberts comes to close him down. Smith just soccers it away as he grabs his opponent. Falls down to Myers, hand pass back inboard. McLean's handball, another turnover to Cam Guthrie. And his hand pass knocked out of play, a throw-in on the wing.
It's another socker to Isaac Smith.
Yes.
Did you do your homework for me?
But you said, you asked me last Sunday, it's only Saturday, so have I forgot till tomorrow morning?
No.
The answer's no, unfortunately. No, the dog ate my homework.
You forgot all about it.
I did, but I need to chase that up with champion data. Rammer's theory, Isaac Smith, quite clearly the number one
Kick off
player
the
in the
ground.
competition. Just kick off the ground. Soccer.
You know this for study. You're just going based on what you've seen.
Based on what I see.
It's
My
anecdotal.
eyes.
It's anecdotal,
Yeah.
but we're trying to get
You
some,
reckon that's an
some
important
concrete
stat?
numbers.
Like, what's the?
He's just good at it.
Here's danger, bursting out of congestion, kicking inside, attacking 50 for the Cats, through the hands of Blakey, spills to Hawkins, big, don't argue, stops, props, goals! Too big, too strong, 3 for the Hawk. It's deja vu all over again. 9-3-57 to 2 straight 12, 10 minutes into the second term, the Cats lead.
So
Cal Mills really disappointed on Nick Blakey here.
But they got what they wanted. So Danger's under pressure. It was a scrappy kick in. Blakey could actually have an opportunity to actually impact the contest, which he arguably could have marked the ball. The ball gets brought to ground. Then that mistake is then compounded by a missed tackle on Hawkins with Blakey, wasn't it? So then he's not going to be happy because the missed tackle, and he's got a goal from a free kick out of a stoppage as well. But we can see the kick come here just on replay. Blakey again just misses the ball. No, it was Lloyd. Yeah, so it was Lloyd compounded the issue with a missed tackle, and that's an unfair fight in Lloyd on Hawkins. But that's why I'm saying there's so many things that are going wrong now for Sydney.
45 points a lead for the Cats. Dangerfield had it going in the wrong direction. Hand pass to Gordon. Kicks inside 50. McLean caught at the back. Falls down Hayward's way. Hurried handball back to Gordon. Shoots goalward but misses. Out to the left and behind. Sydney a 2-1. Playing way uphill. Geelong 9-3. It's the Cats by 44.
That's a good way to put it.
So
Way uphill.
now the City coaches are probably going, where do we start? Where do we start with the issues? Where do we need to fix? Where do we need to get better? There's so many issues at the minute, so it'll be a difficult time in the Sydney box at the minute, I would have thought.
Stewart in the left back pocket here for the Cats. Wants to switch out towards the eastern side of the ground, looking for Cam Guthrie. Heaney right there with him. In his back pocket, he spoils it out of play. Right in front of the Swan supporters who are trying to get them going. 8 of the last 9 goals going the way of the Cats. They've kicked, obviously, 9 of the 11 goals in the game. Umpire spins it back in. Left half forward here for the Swans. Laddams lays it down for Warner. Gives it back to Laddams. He fires on goal. It'll go to the goal square. Stewart spoils it away. There's a free kick. A holding free kick. It'll go to Stewart. He'll get it in the defensive goal square for the Cats. 44 points is their advantage.
Games earlier today, a 40-point win for Port over West Coast, and the Brisbane Lions by 21 over the Giants in a game in which Charlie Cameron kicked 7 goals. To Coney. Marks in the back pocket. Heads to Atkins. He marks at half-back. Chips short to Bowes. Just been able to work their way through the maze with ease, Geelong. 44 points their lead. The first game at Kardinia Park for the new season as he kicks out wide, and Dangerfield marks. Gary Ayres medalist is the player of the final series last year. Had a tremendous grand final as well. Goes with the 1-2 to Cam Guthrie. Heads across the centre square, and young Roberts stands underneath it. The only teenager on the ground takes the mark, back edge of the centre square.
Goes laterally with his kick to Jake Lloyd. Grabs back off the mark, now kicks into the middle of the ground. A good kick. Might open it up for the Swans to Laddams, to Blakey. Slinking by, kicks inside, attacking 50. Poor kick. Guthrie gathers, almost run down. Just gets a handball away to Duncan. He'll kick out to the wing. Myers drops it and fumbles it out of play in front of the Reg Hickey stand. And a throw in on the wing. 9-3-57 to 2-1-13. Cats lead 13.5 minutes played in the second.
43 points was as wide as it got in the first half of the grand final. We're already past that point. Here it's 44 points at the moment, and it's been as wide as 46 from the stoppage. Again, Geelong win it, so another clearance one for the Cats as Bowes kicks out to Cameron. Hands on the footy, runs underneath it. Fox turns him inside out, wins the footy. Hand pass away to Blakey. Hurried kick to halfback. Favours Myers, no mark. Spills down to Bowes, still on the 50. Puts it inside the pocket. Taken by Cameron. He's drilled in the tackle. It's a good one. Taken to ground, and the ump says ball up. He says holding the ball.
But the ease in which Geelong walked that ball out of the stoppage and off the half-forward flank for Sydney that's one of the big issues, just around their pressure, their intensity around the stoppage is just not good enough. And when Jeremy Cameron and Tom Hawkins are getting, when it's walking out of opposition defences and getting a good looks at it like that, that any defence is going to be under pressure.
Blakey goes long towards the wing. The Swans emerge with the footy. Quick kick out of there. Marked by Francis. He kicks into the middle of the ground. On the bounce, Florent takes it. Goes short up the middle. And he's able to find Clark. Clark has to skip back off the mark in the middle of the ground and assess what he's got. Now he'll go really short to Goulden, who runs a little U-turn now, kicks into the pocket, low down. Hayward wants to claim it. The umpire says play on. Ball spits out. Holmes is able to take it for the Cats. He kicks towards the wing. Hawkins can't take the mark. Simpson rows. Runs a little zigzag. Handball back to Holmes, who'll snap around the wing.
It'll sit right for Mills, though. Takes the intercept mark on his chest. Defensive side of the wing goes to centre half back for Cunningham. Hand pass to Fox. A long kick out to the eastern wing, and it's a couple of Swans there. McLean marks. Lifts a hand pass over Guthrie on the mark to Big Adams. The lefty runs after it. He kicks a high ball inside the forward 50. Big leap from Hayward, no mark. Dropped it on the way down to Koning tracking the footy. Gordon got it out. The advantage of Hayward, keeps on moving and bangs it through. And one completely against the flow for the Swans. Hayward kicks his second. And Geelong's lead cut to 38. 9-3 to 3-1 midway through the second quarter.
That was a good bit of play. The turnover came. Mills intercept mark, and one of the rare times they were able to shape the ball sideways to the open side, switch the ball, should I say, in simple terms, and then get the ball and bypass Geelong's defence and their spare sitting back behind the ball. So good overlap run provided by Laddams on that far side as Ruckman had got the deep kick in a really deep spot, top of the 50 there, in a good contest. I think it was the young fella Roberts, I think, potentially. Hayward and Roberts on the ground level, and then brought their ground players into it. So it was one of the rare occasions that actually had found some space inside 50.
Playing his 50th consecutive match, Will Hayward. Back in the middle, De Koning rises high, slaps it down. Following up though, McLean soccers it out to the wing, picked up by Holmes for the Cats. Handball forward, Dangerfield knocks it on. Handball to De Koning, sweeps a handball to Close. Close will chip it laterally and finds Simpson. A little bit like the Harlem Globetrotters. There the Cats flicking it around, and a clever little kick. Simpson will go back for his second.
It's just doing the right thing. So the ball there is in a contest, but it's surging it Geelong's way. Just they surge and surge till they get it clear, and then Brad Close makes the right decision. It's terrific play by the Cats.
Boot to ball from 40 out, directly in front. Normal transmission resumes. Simpson's second, Geelong's 10th, well before half-time, 10-3-63. Sydney 3-1-19, 17 and a half minutes into the second term.
It's interesting, Corbs. Last week we were talking through the West Coast game about it didn't feel it felt like Geelong were grinding through the gears a little bit. You know, they weren't at the level that we probably had come to expect from them over previous seasons. Tonight it feels like they're going through the gears nice and smoothly.
They kind of they had that third quarter, or really second half, against the Hawks. They had moments in the second quarter last week against the Eagles. They obviously lost their first three games.
It's hard to judge, though, respectfully, against the Eagles and Hawthorn.
Correct.
Actually,
yeah, that's right.
They got a bit of a soft kill, easy kill, and then it's hard to judge. They are a great team, so it's like, where are they at? Are they actually on the mend? But now tonight they're showing against a great opposition that they're back to their best.
Sam De Koning looking like Tom De Koning as he leaps up, palms it down to the middle of the ground, but Parker hurried kick forward, and Zach Guthrie takes the intercept mark. And immediately they want to switch along the half-back line. Kicks it to O'Connor. He goes short to Cam Guthrie. Not 15. Says keep moving that, and Cam Guthrie does just that. Kicks it out to Kolajasny. Marks logo, eastern wing in front of the Hickey stand. Goes on a run, kicks it inside 50. Rolling the big leap. No mark. Half a chance on ground level. He scraps after it for Geelong. Comes out Goulden's way. Quick little hand pass away to Mills, and then to Florent. Hurried ball out the boundary line, eastern side. Kolajasny grabs it. He's taken high in the Goulden tackle. And a free kick to Kolajasny to cancel. Keep possession between wing and half forward. 70 out. Geelong lead the game by 44.
Kolajasny sets it up inside 50. Henry trying to get at the football. Lloyd stands in front of him. Takes the defensive mark for the Swans. Wants to switch it out towards the western wing. Francis going upstairs, can't take the mark. Duncan arriving, tries to slap it on. Ricochets off Stevens, he'll go and pick it up. Runs it out of bounds. The umpire says deliberate. Rammer, Beach, what did you see?
He's under enormous pressure there, so you haven't got much space to work in other than just to throw the ball on your boot.
Zach Tui heads for Duncan. He marks just before the Parker spoil. So they'll be able to go back and take his kick, Mitch Duncan. Coming off plenty of the footy the last couple of weeks since his return, coinciding with Geelong's winning streak. As he hits up Dangerfield, takes the sprawling mark, left half forward, had close in the pocket, and the captain had his back to that, and Dangerfield.
This is one where you're close enough to the boundary, if you kick it, you can get over to the boundary and get a really good photo.
He's at left half forward. There's obviously nothing behind the goals at that city end other than concrete, so the man in the stack hat with the high-vis jacket on is just walking around to give Danger something to aim at. Trying to get behind the sticks. Dangerfield wide out, looking for the extra distance. 52 out. He knew he always had it in him. Doing what Paddy Dangerfield does. Creeping up on the man of the mark. Stepped out to his right and then pumps it through from beyond the arc. And Geelong having a day out. They lead by 50. 11-3-69 to Sydney 3-1-19. Time on second term. Adam Ramanauskas, Brendan Goddard.
That disappoints me, Beach. He had the beautiful opportunity to go to the crowd here, put their hands up, get a nice photo, really get some love from the crowd. He's ran the other way.
That's right.
Nah.
I wouldn't call him a showman, Paddy, so he's...
the arc out hurt him, though. Rammer didn't. He was running away from them already.
Yeah, hurt him a lot.
The showman would have went back to the supporters and to the fence, but Paddy's not much of this.
What would you have done, Beach?
BJ would have kissed the crowd, for sure. That's the easy man of the people.
Probably wouldn't even shown any emotion. That's
the correct answer.
Just run-of-the-mill shot from there anyway for me.
Here's Dangerfield again, receiving the tap from Blitzarves, loses it under a tackle. Warner squeezes out a kick towards the wing. Goulden goes after it. He's tackled quickly. He bounces back up after breaking the tackle. And there's a free kick. High tackle. So Goulden to have the kick on the wing. Lauren Borden downstairs.
Matt Roberts just limped off to the Sydney bench. He's getting his left knee checked out. The doctors have been flexing it for a little while now, so we'll see if he can get back on the field.
Goulden kicks into the middle of the ground, finds Blakey, who will go short laterally. McInerney marks. Cats out by 50. 22 minutes into the second. Here's McInerney looking to switch it again, finding Campbell. Attacking point of the square. Cats have folded back. Not a lot of space for Campbell to work into. Tries to head to the pocket looking for McDonald. Blitzarves gets in front of him. Tui loses it. Might have thrown it holding the ball. Goulden with the tackle. He'll get it back. He'll wheel quickly. Set sail for home and tug it. He misses to the near side. A minor score. 3-2-20. Move the Swans. The Cats 11-3-69. 49 points. Geelong's advantage.
He's got both their behinds. Errol, Sydney Academy prospect, actually bid on in his draft year by Geelong.
I would have. You know, he's my man, Errol.
Yeah.
Good player.
Claimed him early, didn't I?
Yeah, absolutely. Big fan. Neat left footer. Had a tremendous pre-season. The kick out for the Cats is coming back though as Parker hand-pass to Rowbottom, kicks it deep into the pocket. It'll slide through for a behind.
It's quite amazing if you look at it with Goulden, Heaney and Mills all out of their academy. And they're three of their probably top 5 players.
11-3 to 3-3. Geelong by 48 points. Errol Goulden. Lauren Borden is on the boundary for our slots.
I haven't got that talent. I've just been watching the Sydney bench here. Unfortunately for Matt Roberts, he's being subbed off here with that knee injury. So he's been the sub 3 times, the young player, and now it looks like he'll be subbed off Will Gould to come on. So we'll keep a watch on his injuries.
Hopefully he's all right. The long kick towards the wing. McLean can't mark. Now they're out the back, the Cats. Myers taking a running bounce, comes back infield, kicks to Simpson, at half forward, gives it off. Oh, a little fumble from Cam Guthrie allows in Fox and the Swans. Handball to Blakey, to Campbell. Handball to McLean, who slaps it on cleverly. And now they run down the Reg Hickey stand wing, the Swans.
Fox gives it to Warner. Warner mowed down by Close. Just on his heels like a pair of socks, and Brad Close able to mow him down. Chips the ball away to Isaac Smith. Hand pass to Zach Guthrie. Ran a long way. Wanted to give it for Duncan. It's broken up. Swans win it back. Florent to Parker by hand. Hand pass into the centre square for Haywood. In transition, long kick inside 50. Off Francis, drops a chest marker. It spills through to Heaney. Heaney can just snap it through for a goal. And it wasn't all that pretty, but Sydney get one back the other way. 11-3 to 4-3. Geelong by 7 goals at the 25-minute mark of the second term, and Isaac Heaney with his first of the night.
Well, it was a bit of turnover footy, wasn't it? If it wasn't for... I'm going to try and remember who dropped that on the far side. Guthrie.
Duncan.
No, Cam Guthrie, was it? Not in the midfield. Outside. They did such a good job, Geelong, because Sydney had the spare back in front of Hawkins. Excuse me. It was Simpson who he dropped off, and Simpson then actually got involved back the other way. They used it, lowered their eyes to Simpson. Guthrie providing over that run, and that just unravelled the offence for Geelong. And there's a couple of turnovers in between, but a pretty opportunistic goal there. Francis dropped the sitter. Nothing's going right, and then Heaney was just lucky to clean up after Francis dropped mark. But a score-off turnover, you could say, but a bit of bad play and poor execution from Geelong.
Papley in the middle, tries to get onto the Laddams tap. He wins a high free kick.
I love Mark Blitzars. Started the game in the ruck. Now he's probably playing ruck rover.
Yep.
How many times would that happen in a game?
Lloyd kicks the Swans inside 50. No one able to take the mark at the fall of the ball. Zach Guthrie, he kicks into the middle of the ground for the Cats. Off the hands of the pack, Lloyd mops up there for the Swans, gives it off to Cunningham. He'll kick them into the pocket. Radagalia's down there. Oh, big fly coming there from Duncan. A little unrealistic, or maybe a lot unrealistic. And the free kick will go to Stevens in the left forward pocket.
Yeah, he was thinking mark of the year there. Mitch Duncan, no doubt. Completely missed the ball.
Missed it by about 3 foot.
Yeah. That's a 7 goals up attempt, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. First contest of the game, you're probably not doing that, are you?
No. That's just a straight
Depends.
spoil to the boundary.
Yeah.
Rammer would have.
No way.
Shees would have sprayed you, would
Yeah.
he?
The silky left footer from the left forward pocket splits the middle. And for the first time tonight, the Swans have kicked a couple on the bounce. And he went to Duncan on the mark and let him know about it as well.
I hate that. It's so ridiculous.
11-3, 69 plays 5-3, 27 minutes into the second term.
They're 6 goals down, and Papu's giving it to Duncan for trying to take a hanger and giving away a free kick.
Well, you've got to try to create some level of enthusiasm. That's how Papley plays. Now,
I love Papley as a player.
Stevens has gone to Duncan after he kicks the goal also. We're just watching the replay here.
Oh, well, him, and then Papley comes from nowhere.
Yeah.
Like a little chihuahua. Watch him.
Mitch Duncan.
There he is.
Oh, he's a star. But
That's Buildy.
Mitch Duncan's all the funny side on it. He couldn't help but laugh. 6 goals, Geelong's lead back in the middle. It's a huge tackle from Holmes. It forces the turnover. Parker coughs it up. Holmes gets it back. Kicks hurriedly out to half forward for Geelong. Unkind bounce for Cameron. He and Fox compete for the footy. Spills through to Braden Campbell. He runs out of bounds. Then pretends to keep it alive. And the ump says that's well disguised. We'll have a boundary throw in half forward for Geelong. Cats led the game by 50 earlier in the quarter.
If you isolate the quarter corps, Sydney have had 6 scoring shots at Geelong 5 this quarter, albeit Geelong have kicked 5 straight.
Laddams from the boundary throw-in, wins it down to Parker. He's dispossessed, spills to Papley, coughs it up. Myers kicks inside 50, ricochets back to Holmes, still at half forward for Geelong. Gives it to Smith, hand pass to Atkins, centre half forward, heads inside 50. Wanted Henry, no mark. Goulden pushed off it. Goulden goes back in again. Still no clean takeaway. Eventually comes to Myers. He's dispossessed. Now Blitzarves, ball held to him. And ump says, I'll have it after all that. A ball up 35 metres out from the Cats' goal. And a bit of polite applause from the Geelong members too after a bit of tough footy. 36 points, Geelong's lead.
Hawkins knocks it down. Warner steals it for the Swans. Kicks into the middle of the ground. Going up. Kolajasny can't take the mark. Heavy tackle on Stevens. And he'll get a free kick as a result.
Too high or dangerous tackle?
Jeremy Cameron.
Dangerous tackle. Signaling dangerous. Yes.
Does that mean when you touch your head?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I think too rough is the...
Jeremy Cameron, the offending party. Sydney through the middle of the ground. Florent takes the mark on the sharp kick from Parker.
Ollie Florent steps around Atkins on the mark. He's about 60 out, just loads up, kicks to the top of the goal square. They come from all directions, spills out the back. G. Clark just couldn't get there on time. And College Asney ushers it through for a rush behind. Geelong lead it 11-4 to 5-4. So, no, sorry, that behind goes the other way. 11-3 to 5-4. It's Geelong by 35 points, 29-minute mark, second term.
Stewart with the kick in, short to the pocket. Mark taken by O'Connor. Deep in the right back pocket. Swans interchange. Stewart holding up the 1 minute sign. O'Connor kicks towards the wing. Radaglia goes up. Can't take the mark. Front and square. Izzy Smith. He's dragged down. Get a ball up. Left half forward here for the Swans.
It's pretty easy to decipher, the 1 minute. There's no bowl of noodles or anything as part of that.
Emoji.
Yep.
From the restart. Trying to come through is Warner. At the bottom, Blitzarv. Smith eventually dribbles a kick out straight towards the boundary line. Umpire paddles his arm, deliberate. So the Swans will get it back.
Big Pete Laddams takes the free kick for Sydney. His second year as a Swan. He looks in the McDonald direction, competes, no mark, falls down to Zach Guthrie. Gang tackled immediately. Says ball up, 35 out from the Swans goal. Fell behind by as many as 50 earlier in the quarter. They've kicked the last 2 goals. Geelong's lead 35 on the stroke of half-time. Sam DeConing rucking tonight in the absence of Segler. Wins the hit-out down to Atkins. He's taken high. And the Warner tackle and a free kick for Tom Atkins at centre-half back. Ordinarily doing the tackling himself. The competition's leading tackler through the first 5 rounds, Tom Atkins.
Sends it out towards the Reg Hickey stand. Big fist comes from behind and Blakey towards DeConing, who's wrapped up quickly. Dragged down to ground, loses the footy at ground level. Atkins goes in and gathers, gives it back to Cameron, who hooks across his body towards the logo. Blakey stands underneath it for the Swans and takes the mark and wriggles away as he kicks towards half forward. And the siren goes for half time. So Sydney finished the half with the last 2 goals of it having trailed by as much as 50 points. But at half-time, it'll be 35 points, Geelong's advantage.
As Loz told us, Matt Roberts unfortunately subbed out of the game. So he's walking with a little bit of a limp as he makes his way off the bench for the Sydney Swans. He's got the warm-up top on, but unfortunately his day is over. The 19-year-old has been subbed out. Will Gould into the match for Sydney. The goal kickers to half-time. Tom Hawkins has 3, Jeremy Cameron has 2, as does Sam Simpson. And then singles for Dangerfield, Henry, Close and Blitzarves. While for the Sydney Swans, Will Hayward's got a couple. Singles for Stevens, Heaney and Patley. 11 goals to 5, Geelong by 35 points. It has been all the Cats in the grand final rematch. At half-time, the thoughts of Brendan Goddard and Adam Ramanauskas on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, it has been really all Geelong. Sydney had a little moment there late in that second quarter where they were able to get a couple of goals, but really the Cats have been able to have it their own way. Sydney like playing the game in a contest, and Geelong haven't allowed that here tonight. There's been a lot of uncontested football for the Cats. If you look at it, BJ, Geelong have had 175 possessions, only 44 of them have been contested. So that's a really, really low number for both teams there. And it's smart play. They've moved the ball. They've given Jeremy Cameron, they've given Tom Hawkins the opportunity to play the game one-on-one, but they haven't really needed. Hawkins has had 3 goals and 3 possessions. So he's only really had one moment where he was in a one-on-one with...
one from a free kick.
Yeah,
2.
and one from where Blakey dropped the mark. The other one where he's able to outmuscle Mills. So he hasn't really had a heap of opportunities. But what Sydney have done, they've been conscious of Cameron and Hawkins too much, and that's allowed other gaps within Geelong's forward 50 for others to kick goals. So, look, what are we at? 35 points. It's not insurmountable, but you can't. I can't see it from the Swans at the moment. I'm not seeing
enough.
Yeah,
it'll be a very big surprise based on what we've seen. But I think the positive for Sydney going into that quarter, you touched on had a bit of momentum there in the last 10 minutes. But the easiest way to stop Tom Hawkins, Jeremy Cameron, is starved them of the footy. And they did that. 50s. They did that in the last 10 minutes. So Sydney actually played the game in their forward half. Those shots on goal were albeit a point, but they were able to set up defensively, set up the zone from a kick in, which were able to slow Geelong's ball use down, which then again starved. They couldn't get any speed on the ball. They couldn't get any good looks inside 50. And if it did get to the other end by that stage, at least it was slow. So then instead of relying on, say, Blakey, Mills and maybe like a 3v4 in their defensive half, they arguably had 15 or 16 guys, Sydney, as a team defence actually supporting their defenders, so which really helps. So I think that has played the game. So if they've got a blueprint moving forward, I think they're really poor around the stoppages early in particular. Geelong were walking out of stoppages, which puts their defenders under two. It doesn't matter if you've got Blakey there as a spare and they're dropping off Geelong's high half forward. When you let a team like Geelong, and most teams in the AFL, mind you, is that you let them walk out of stoppages under no pressure. Even if you have a spare, he'll get bypassed.
Foot skills are too good.
And the foot skills are too good. So credit to Geelong early too, where Simpson, Close were the guys that they were actually dropping off Sydney, but they were getting used up the field. They were getting used when they did win it. They were spreading hard forward to actually get involved in offence, which would then have to draw Sydney's +1 out at times, or the spare that was sitting in front of Hawkins. And if he didn't come out, it was under no pressure and they just bypassed the +1 anyway.
I'd be... If I'm the coach of Sydney at half-time, I'm getting Cal Mills up around the football in this second half. I'm taking Hayden McLean. I'm taking Hayden McLean off the bench.
Are you asking Hayden McLean to do something that he's never done before?
You have to. Well, you're asking Callum Mills to do something he hasn't done before.
What about the other one? I mean,
at least he's comfortable back there.
What about the other one you both discussed, which is Aaron Francis? I mean, he's obviously played both ends of the ground for Essendon.
You're better off playing as a smaller forward line rather than having your most consistent player through the middle of the ground, I think, in Mills or at half-back even, because we don't see Mills too often at full-back. We see him at either half-back or in the middle of the ground setting the game up.
Well, he's either in the middle, or when he plays half-back, he plays on the high half forward, which then he drops off and becomes a spare anyway. So,
do you think part of that's player-driven? Like, he's the leader of the team. He's one of the co-captains. He's obviously their All-Australian best and fairest. When did you think part of it, knowing how undersized it was, that he thought, you know what, I'll have a crack at it. I'll play on him?
I think at their age and demographic, there'll be a group discussion around what would happen during the week. How do we combat it? Where are we vulnerable, obviously, in our defence, and who's out? So, and I'm sure they've thought about, plan B, C, D also. So what happens from here? So this isn't really working. We're getting beaten around the ball. Stoppage numbers look all right, but it's the ones that Geelong are winning that they're walking out of stoppage. Sydney's are under pressure. It's a quick kick forwards, then Stewart, Geelong defenders deconing, and then that comes into their own too, because they're such good intercept players. So the numbers are a bit distorted because it looks quite even when you look at the numbers. When they were worse in the first quarter, besides disposals, clearances, tackles is a bit alarming when Geelong are winning so much of the ball that they're still out tackling Sydney. So I reckon around the ball, Sydney need to improve their intensity, put it on the midfielders about their work rate, pressure around the ball, and that even if Geelong do wing it, at least let them kick it out of forward 50 stoppers. Don't let them link up with hands, and then that high half forward that we talked about that Sydney have dropped off, he can't get then involved in the play because the ball's just kicked over his head, and it's giving Sydney's actual drop-off players or defenders the best chance to defend, because at the minute that isn't happening. So there's a lot to like about Geelong. I think the last 10 minutes is the blueprint for Sydney moving into this second half, is that we played the game in our forward half. We're able to lock it in there, get re-entries, and then actually starve Geelong forwards, in particular Hawkins and Jeremy Cameron, of the footy. So it's easy for defenders, right? When you don't have to defend, you're a good defender.
It looked eerily similar to last year's grand final. I mean, I know that's the sort of sports commentator guy, easy take to have when the numbers look that way.
You haven't referenced it much tonight, that's it.
But and it felt like the same kind of plan for Sydney. They weren't able to execute it. They got lit up going back the other way, and the same thing happened. They kicked 9 of the first 11 goals.
Geelong are playing the game in quick motion. Sydney are trying to play it in slow motion,
and they can't take speed off the game. It's the same thing that happened on the last game.
I think Geelong's is a clear plan that when they're getting slow play, they're not a plan, but their ability just to dissect Sydney's team defence is still not. That's where I think Sydney coaches will be disappointed when we get him in a slow play. We're still allowing too many uncontested marks, which then allows them to get ground position. So we got him in a slow play, slowed them down, forced them to kick it long down the line. Then we're able to keep the ball in our front half, either turn it over or get another stoppage. So I said there's so many things that are going wrong. It's just hard for the Sydney coaches now to identify where do we actually need to fix, because you can't fix everything at once.
Thoughts of Brendan Goddard and Adam Ramanauskas to half-time. It is Geelong by 35 points. Off the SMS, Lee from Glenorchy in Tasmania may as well try McDonald down back. He hasn't touched the ball yet. So Logan McDonald, of course, was dropped for last year's grand final. Admittedly, he's playing at full forward and hasn't been a whole heap of entries, but hasn't had a single touch. And Aaron Francis, who's the key alongside him, has had the one kick in the game to half-time. More of your text messages after this on 0437 774 774. Max says this was a missed opportunity by the AFL. They should have scheduled this match in Sydney, given what we saw in the grand final. It's a standalone Saturday night match, and it's an absolute fizzer so far. Confident Sydney would have been better at home than Geelong unfurling could have been the return leg. Well, I waited till round 6, but maybe against a different opponent. Obviously, the Cats, I'm sure it would have been one of their requests to have the beaten grand finalists for their home opener in 2023. It is half-time in the standalone Saturday nighter. It is Geelong by 35 points over the Swans. Second half action around the corner, plus we'll tell you what else has been going on in the footy world. A young star docker has beaten a potential suspension at the tribunal, or with a match review officer, and a trip to the tribunal. We'll tell you more about that next. In the interim, let's get the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News with David Rowlands. New Zealand's Prime Minister Chris Hipkins says it's about time Kiwis living in Australia are given greater access to government benefits and citizenship. The federal government has announced New Zealanders living in Australia for more than 4 years will be able to apply for citizenship without having to become permanent residents first. It unwinds a decision by the Howard government in 2001 to put such Kiwis on a special category visa. Mr Hipkins says it's a good day.
I think it's an appropriate recognition of the fact that New Zealanders living in Australia contribute a lot to Australian economy, the Australian society, and they have been treated differently from others, and that has been unfair. And I think the Australian government have now remedied that, and I think that's a very welcome thing.
There are reports of children being injured and dying in the conflict in Sudan, where fighting goes on despite the declaration of a 3-day ceasefire. The United Nations says more than 400 people have been killed in battles between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces in the past week. It says at least 9 of the dead are children and scores have been injured. The United States says it's preparing options to evacuate its embassy in Sudan as fighting continues to rage in the capital, Khartoum. The top official in Russian-annexed Crimea says the region's air defence systems have been activated, but there are no reports of damage or casualties. In a post on Telegram, he pleads for calm and asks people to rely only on trusted sources of information. He does not say what the target of their air defences was or specify the location of the military activity. The WA government has announced it will be extending funding for family and domestic violence hubs until 2027 as part of its upcoming state budget. $13.4 million has been committed to continue service delivery at the state's 2 existing one-stop hubs in Mirrabooka and Kalgoorlie. The Minister for Prevention of Family and Domestic Violence, Sabine Winton, says the hub model provides a culturally safe way for victim survivors to access help without stigma.
We know with family and domestic violence there's a lot of shame attached to it. One of the biggest issues for victims is coming forward. This one-stop hub model is exactly the kinds of services that victims need, whether it be financial counselling, mental health support or housing.
About 100 people have gathered for an emotional public memorial for Declan Laverty, who was killed in March while working at a bottle shop in Darwin's northern suburbs. Roxanne Fitzgerald has more.
Family members of 20-year-old Declan Laverty travelled from Cairns and colleagues gathered with members of the public to farewell the young man remembered as cheeky with big dreams of being a rapper. Tributes flowed from family members, including his mother, who asked residents of Darwin to continue fighting against rising crime rates. Work colleagues presented a condolences book, and a plaque in honour of Declan Laverty is expected to be unveiled following the service.
The search is continuing for the mother of an abandoned baby in Sydney's west, with concerns for the mother's welfare. Police say the baby girl was no more than 3 hours old when she was left naked in the backyard of a Blacktown home yesterday. Police say the mother didn't give birth in a hospital and are urging her to go to one. Neighbour Stuart Reid says it's a concerning situation.
I just feel sorry for the baby and something for the parents, and hope they find the mother, and hope she's okay, and hope everyone, it's a good outcome in the end.
Police say the baby is doing well in Blacktown Hospital. A man charged with murdering a woman in the eastern Perth suburb of Kewdale has appeared in the Perth Magistrates Court via a bedside hearing. David Webber reports.
It's alleged that Stephen James Allen Dean murdered Emmerich Schlesinger on Monday night. Mr Dean has been in hospital as he'd crashed his vehicle before being arrested in St James. The 37-year-old has been charged with murder, aggravated armed robbery, aggravated home burglary and reckless driving. His lawyer told the court his client had a fractured neck and had undergone surgery on his pelvis. The court heard Mr Dean was going to need some time to recover from his injuries and required a mental health assessment. He's due to appear in Stirling Gardens Magistrates Court on April the 27th.
ABC News.
With the ABC Listen app, you can take the footy with you wherever you go. Off to walk the dog?
Take the footy!
Going camping?
Take the footy!
Picnic in the park?
Take the footy!
ABC Sport's expert coverage of the AFL
Incredible grab!
and the NRL. Every goal, try, mark and tackle, live and commercial free. So whatever you're up to,
Take the footy!
take the footy with you on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Here comes Tom Hawkins. He's got one from 30 out, slide angle. Now he's got two.
Gives it to O'Connor, kicks to centre half forward, through hands, scores to Henry, hand pass to Close, another one coming up for the Cats. More of the same to start the second term.
Here's Danger bursting out of congestion, kicking inside, attacking 50 for the Cats through the hands of Blakey. Spills to Hawkins, big don't argue, stops, props, goals! Too big, too strong, three for the Hawk.
Big leap from Hayward, no mark. Dropped it on the way down. DeConey tracking the footy. Gordon got it out. The advantage of Hayward, keeps on moving and bangs it through. And one completely against the flow for the Swans.
Boots the ball from 40 out, directly in front. Normal transmission resumes. Simpson second.
Dangerfield wide out, looking for the extra distance. 52 out. He knew he always had it in him. Doing what Paddy Dangerfield does for Hayward. In transition, long kick inside 50. Francis drops a chest mark, it spills through to Heaney. Heaney can just snap it through for a goal.
Stevens in the left forward pocket. The silky left footer from the left forward pocket. Splits the middle.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Got out as wide as 50 points earlier in that term. Sydney kicking the last two goals of the game. It is 35 the margin at half-time, but it's been all Geelong as it was on grand final day last year, so a 35-point lead for the reigning premiers. 11-3-69 over Sydney, 5-4-34. Corbin Middlemass and Ben Cameron calling the footy. Lauren Borden on the boundary. Adam Ramanauskas and Brendan Goddard, your grandstand AFL experts. Now, the two games completed earlier today, just three matches on this standalone Saturday of round 6. Obviously, the round goes right through to Tuesday with Anzac Day. Port Adelaide beat West Coast by 40 points. Now, the Badcoat medal was won by Connor Rosie as the player adjudged best afield in Port Adelaide's Anzac Day fixture each year. So 29 disposals and 2 goals for the Power. Meanwhile, the Brisbane Lions too good for GWS by 21 points. Charlie Cameron kicking 7 in a winning team for the Lions. Meanwhile, some news out of the match review officer, Ben. Andy Brayshaw has escaped sanction after his collision with Tom Liberatore last night, which obviously left the Bulldogs midfielder concussed. The match review officer deeming that the contact was reasonable and that the contact caused was by circumstances outside the control of Brayshaw himself.
I think we're all happy with that, aren't we? We feel like he was making a play on the ball when he collided with Liberatore. So I'm pretty happy with that.
You happy with that, Beach? Andy Brayshaw escaping Any sanction for his collision with Tom Liberatore?
Well, I'm in no position to comment on that anymore, mate,
Okay.
being involved
Apologies.
in footy club land. So, Rammer, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I am.
Yep.
I thought it was just a pure accident.
Yep.
Like it looked
think I
like
agree.
Liver went low. Brayshaw actually, if you look at correct technique, he turned himself to take the hit with his backside, and he did. It's just Liver got sandwiched.
Sam Sturt got a fine for tripping Adam Treloar, so which
It wasn't even a free kick, that one.
No. When
I
they
noticed that
set
one.
up a goal, Sam Sturt $3,000 fine. For
I
the
noticed that
incident.
on the night too. I thought it was a relatively dangerous act, and he was lucky he didn't make more serious contact.
Can I just ask you about a current player in the competition, Beads, who's a fellow number 1 pick at a Port Adelaide, and Jason Horne-Francis played earlier today. He's obviously copping jeers from the crowd. He got it at his home game last week during gather round. Obviously a bit different
Do you know
today
how he went today?
No adverse reaction. Port Adelaide home game, but he will be playing against your team, St Kilda, on Friday night in Melbourne. It's his next away fixture. How do you think he'll be received, and what have you made of the entire episode? Because it's clearly affected him in a way that his coaches jumped to his defence, and they're not happy about the fact that at 19 years of age, as the number 1 pick, he's getting booed in his second season.
Yeah. Well, I find it very odd, a little bit, and disturbing. But also, I think as the average man, you probably... The reason behind the booing is just to be controversial in a lot of ways. So I actually feel sorry for him in a sense about the... But it is the reality of AFL footy now, and I think anyone that does get drafted is pretty well educated in this space, particularly like on social media and the platforms we have. So it's a difficult situation. So I don't understand the booing of it, and from opposition teams that had no, relevance or connection to North Melbourne and everything.
So
that
if you're a St Kilda fan, and you're heading
so
to
I'd
the footy on
encourage
Friday
all
night.
Saint supporters to grow up and just take it for what it is. So I'll be very disappointed. And I don't have a game day role, so I'll be there next Friday sitting in the crowd as a supporter. I'll be very disappointed if I was to hear St Kilda supporters boo.
Will you tell Saints fans around you, hey, stop booing?
He sits in a corporate box. A little bit hard.
For anyone that's in the vicinity, I'm happy to. So, but
Is there much booing in the corporate box behind the glass bench?
No,
that what he's
just
sipping on red wine
and dining,
just,
mate.
reverberate
No,
around the
something
room.
like that. I sit with the young players. It's very educational, and we talk about the game. Not too much. I'm sitting there barracking and cracking at the umpires like I did as a player. But I'd be very disappointed. But I just don't get the it. I don't know. You look at the origins of it and who's doing it, and that probably says a lot.
Talk to Brendan Goddard. Half-time at Kardinia Park. Second half action upon us. Geelong by 35 points over Sydney. And the standalone Saturday nighter as this Anzac appeal round continues. The Cats by 35 points on Grandstand AFL. You're with Ben Cameron.
Blitzarves and Latham. Blitzarves goes very high to win it down to Dangerfield, who fires out a handball. Papley goes after the football. Somehow gets a handball out. O'Connor picks it up for the Cats. Floats a high ball inside attacking 50. Rowan going back with the flight. Can't take the chest mark. Flicks it out to Tui, to Cameron, to Close. Time to steady. Snaps on goal and misses. A behind. 11-4-70. Plays 5-4-34. Opening 30 seconds of this second half here on Grandstand AFL.
Kick out makes its way to Braden Campbell. He heads out of the defensive arc to Heaney, who marks, gives it back to Campbell. Chips down the wing and Laddams takes the mark. Look at it a third time in the chain here, Campbell. The kick goes very wide to Gordon. Wasn't a good kick. Hung in the air and Zach Guthrie kills it over the boundary line and crunches Errol in the process.
So I don't think by looking at the teams and matchups and where Sydney players are playing after half-time, I don't think there's any change. So it's still Paddy Mills, Tom Hawkins and Blakey playing on that higher half forward, trying to drop off and support.
A boundary throw-in. Comes down to Parker. Squeezes a kick back into the centre square. Kolajasny went without it. It'll sit for Smith. Just gets boot to ball. Travels 3 metres to the number 3. And Dylan Stevens is locked up immediately. Ball up in the centre square. Lauren Borden on the boundary.
An update on Matt Roberts. Sydney suspects it's a medial ligament injury in his left knee, so he's just come back up now with the left knee brace, still getting some treatment from the physios and doctors.
Ball can't quite get out of there. We'll do it again. Just looking at the renovations at the city end of the ground, I just wonder, surely we had the Gary Ablett terrace, surely we're going to have it named in honour of both of them. Senior and junior, as Blitzarves emerges with the footy, kicks towards half forward, run down Blakey, loses the footy, Rowan's caught him cold. Goes quickly inside 50. Getting back, Cameron marks. 35 out. 30-degree angle to the left-hand side. The defensive effort from Gary Rowan will wind up as a shot on goal from Jeremy Cameron.
It's outstanding by Gary Rowan. And Robbie Fox is already on his bike going the other way. Then Jeremy Cameron just ducks out the back door.
Well, arguably, Jeremy Cameron didn't chase as hard as he should have to Robbie Fox, and then he gets rewarded for it getting out the back.
Sometimes you don't need to as a forward, BJ.
Cameron looking for his third. He celebrates the moment it leaves the boot. Jez has got 3. And the Cats have 12. 2.5 minutes into the second half. 12-4-76. Plays 5-4-34. And Jeremy Cameron has got 3. Charlie Cameron earlier today kicked 7. Good day for the family.
But I think if I'm Robbie Fox, and I've been in this position before, Ram, I'm not about you as a backman, but I'll just let him know that he probably didn't deserve that one, and gets rewarded for a lack of effort, defensive effort.
It gets marked out in the footy record.
No, that's why I just let him know that you just don't have that one over me. Jez would know deep down as well.
I know they're brothers as well, so no one texts in and say that they're not actually related.
You know they're not brothers. Yep. 25 points. 25 goals for the season for Jeremy Cameron. Counts by 7 goals in the game.
Come on, Ben.
Early stages.
The Melbournians actually get a bit of sarcasm over here, mate. They're not like your Perth Knights.
For the restart, comes down to Dangerfield, kicks the centre half forward. Hello to everyone in Perth listening.
Got to explain my jokes over there.
Out to Rowan. Rowan got boot to ball, just trickles away to Rowbottom. He's taken high in the tackle by O'Connor, and a free kick for Rowbottom. Centre half back. Shot of Paddy McCartan sitting in the stands. And the team tracksuit top on. He's obviously missing his second game after that concussion back in round 4. And that gruesome incident against Port Adelaide. As Hayward to Lloyd, and then a short kick to Clark. Sydney slow build up down the eastern wing. Finds Heaney. Hand pass back out to Lloyd. Just pokes the pass to Stevens. So Stevens, still a lot of... Yeah, still a lot of possessions and still outside the attacking arc. The kick eventually goes out wide to Cunningham. He's still got it beyond the 50.
And in no man's land, really there.
Plenty of Geelong jumpers. Top of the goal square, the kick heads. They come from all directions for it. Francis had hands on it, no mark. Spills down bottom of the pack. Hand pass out from from Clark. It's picked off though, and the Cats just bang it up to half back.
Getting involved, Dangerfield gets a handball out. And now flicking it out to Close. He'll handball forward to Smith. Smith will turn and kick towards half forward. In the Hawkins direction, Fox outpoints him. He takes the intercept mark on his chest. 55 metres out from the defensive goal for the Swans. And again, they're stifled immediately. Fox backpedals. Now he's a little bereft. He'll run and kick low around the wing, and a good kick up to a leading Parker. He marks right beneath the Reg Hickey stand, eastern side of the ground.
He's told to go. So Parker's just going to kick up the single step down the wing. Cameron back behind the footy, spoils it for Geelong. Down to the path of Myers. Hand pass to Cam Guthrie, hands it away to Dangerfield. Low trajectory kick inside 50. Fox collects under pressure. Hand pass to Blakey for the Swans. Got it out to Rowbottom. Slick hands to Cunningham. Gives it to Clark. Short kick to Laddams. He marks outer edge of the centre square and flares a hand pass to Cunningham on the wing.
Cunningham gets a handball away to Clark. His handball knocked down by Blitzarves. He then picks it up, has support. Cam Guthrie away to Kolajasny. Goes long inside 50, looking for a marker. Henry a couple of bites at it. Blakey knocks it away. Campbell onto the footy for the Swans. Handball to Mills. His kick for Florent. Overshoots him. Gordon will come and mop it up at the back and kick off a step.
Not a great kick. Tui in the box seat. Hayward forced to spoil. Geelong jumpers everywhere. Zach Guthrie onto it. Kicks back down to half forward. Turns it over. And Fox with the intercept mark. Shares it to Braden Campbell. Long kick down the wing. Francis competes. The juggled mark. He's got it. The former Bomber, Aaron Francis, takes the mark. First game since the Dreamtime fixture last year. As he heads down to half forward, Stewart knocks it out of bounds at a throw in. 70 out from the Sydney goal.
There seems to be a reluctance from Sydney just to actually get the ball forward. to a contest. So I think there's now a deliberate kind of ploy to lower their eyes, particularly through the middle of the ground, to draw out those sagging Geelong defenders, which they're so good at. But when you get in the position where you talk about the launch pad being 50 to 70 out, just get it in long to a dangerous spot to your forwards and give them the best chance. Don't allow Geelong's 16 players to get back and support the defence.
Holmes tumbles a kick to the wing. Henry can't pick it up. Warner goes in. So too Heaney. Blakey tries to bustle through. Eventually the ball spits out. Campbell onto it for the Swans. Tumbles a kick towards half forward. Kolajasny outpoints his opponent in McDonald beautifully. Handball to Henry. Cats on the wing. Kick partially smothered. It'll ricochet nicely to close. To Myers. Hacks it out of midair. Inside 50. Smith onto the footy. He can't quite gather it. Going again is Myers. Picking it up Hawkins. He'll snap back to a hot spot here for the Cats. Bouncing ball. And the Swans are there though. Gordon fumbles. Getting onto it, Rowan. He snaps on goal. And it will tumble through for a behind. And a minor score for the Cats. 12-5-77 plays 5-4-34. 8 played in the third.
Some breaking news coming through that one of Australia's most beloved and successful comedians, Barry Humphries, has died at the age of 89. So more in the ABC News bulletins throughout the night. You can find more online at abc.net.au. But Barry Humphries has passed away aged 89. The Swans work the footy up to the wing. It's Geelong by 43 points here, 8 minutes into the third. And Pete Laddams has it. He's not confident with what to do with it. Kicks laterally, turns it over. Close to the intercept mark. Another forward half turnover for the Cats. Got it to Radaglia. Hand pass back to Tui. Chips inside 50 and Ollie Henry marks uncontested. Right half forward, about 35 out.
And that turnover, Beach, is simply Sydney's willingness not to move the ball fast. And on 2 occasions, the last 3 minutes, they've taken a mark on centre wing here right in front of us, gone back and waited.
Yeah, but we can obviously see what's ahead of the play. So it had actually Francis ahead of the play with a bit of space. I know Tom Short was closing him, but you got to actually roll on and just got to go. So they're just holding themselves up at the minute.
Henry on the set shot. His drop punt sails through. More of the same for the Cats. And the 20-year-old's got a couple. Geelong by 49 points, 10 minutes into the third quarter on Grandstand AFL.
You probably understand it when you don't have the tools that they would usually have Franklin, Reid up there to actually make a contest, but they actually make it harder on themselves by just not getting speed on the ball. And it seems like, again, it's lowering the eyes. They're actually getting in a position where they're getting it arguably to the middle of the ground, and then they can go faster. And then their smalls, Sydney smalls, don't get involved in the play. So then the ball's not on the ground when it is in the forward line. So Sydney smalls are having no impact on the game. So get it in there, put it on Francis and McLean to actually just make a contest. If they aren't marking it, don't let Geelong mark it, just bring it to ground. And then that's where Papley, Haywood, Isaac Heaney can do both in the air on the ground. That's where they come into play.
Umpire lays it down in the middle. Both rucks with hands on it. Warner coming through. Handball chopped off by Blitzarves. Storming out of the middle for the Cats to Rowan. Beautiful play from Geelong. Oh, Blitzarves can do it always. And Rowan marks 25 out. Slide angle left of centre.
It's just a follow-up here by Blitzarves. To intercept that. He's in the ruck contest with Laddams. Intercepts the ball. And then look, Will Gould had no chance of stopping that against Gary Rowan.
I don't think any other player or no other player would have got there because the ball would have fallen short of them, except it was just Gary Rowan's speed.
Rowan comes in and drives it through. Rinse and repeat for the Cats. They're running up a score on the Swans again. 14-5, 89 to 5-4, 34, 11 minutes into the third term down at Cardinia Park.
It's just interesting, BJ. You mentioned it right at the start of this quarter. When we looked down and we looked at Sydney and the positions, it was the same as the first quarter. So John sort of said, okay, 34 points down at half-time. We'll just try this. We'll just see if this can still work. Let's see if we can get the first goal or two of the quarter. Geelong kicked 3.
Now, and just as you've said that, Mills has actually then come on ball.
Well,
Blakey's on Hawkins.
Gould down.
Yeah, Gould's actually come on as a sub, as you know, a little bit early for Roberts, young Roberts, who hurt his knee. So he's the one playing the goal scorer on Rowan. But they've made a changes. But I think they're actually supporting the stoppage a little bit more, so they've tweaked the game plan as such, not so much the positions or the personnel and who's playing on who.
Mills involved immediately. Hand pass away to Heaney off the wing, gives it to Parker, kicks inside 50 and Francis marks. So the first disposal in the middle for Cal Mills, and then quick entry for the Swans, and one of their key forwards in Aaron Francis has a look at the sticks here from 50 out, centre half forward.
See, Cal Mills helps Chad Warner. Cal Mills helps Luke Parker.
Which they've had no impact.
No.
I know Parker's numbers are okay, but they've had really no impact. But just as we've said that too, that the stoppages are now 28-19 to Geelong's way, so I think that's a clear indicator of why Paddy Mills has got in there.
And sees range from here. Aaron Francis from 51 out lands a metre short. He's also offline and hands on it from Stewart before it trickles out of play. And in the end, not a bad result for the Bloods. A boundary throw in right forward pocket. They've had very few forward 50 stoppages. They've had very few forward 50 entries. 14-5 to 5-4. 13 gone third term. Geelong with the only 3 goals of the quarter. They lead by 55.
Paddy Mills, BJ.
Paddy, yeah, I just went with the more famous one. People
comes straight from the NBA as they extracted here, the Cats. Bose with a clearing kick beyond offensive 50 towards the wing. No one able to mark it. Coming through. And Mills there is Paddy Mills.
There is Paddy Mills, but there's Mills playing as a midfielder. He just pops out because it's a forward 50 stoppage, so he is now still playing as a midfielder, so don't get us wrong there. He's just supporting defence as a +1 when there's an forward 50 stoppage for Sydney.
No one able to mark from his kick. Loose footy, gathered here by Campbell, gets it away to Stevens. He'll float a kick to full forward Radagalia. There were 3 Cats back there. Dangerfield, Stewart and Radagalia. They could raffle it. And Sav won. He kicks laterally to the back pocket and Stewart
trying to control where Francis stands on the mark. The ump says, I've got that. And Tom Stewart, the All-Australian from the back pocket, kicks out to half-back. Rowan with the big leap on the shoulders of McInerney. Couldn't rip it down. Spills to Cam Guthrie, still with Geelong. Hand pass to Atkins, kicks in front of the bench and close.
Really good hands.
Good contested mark. Just snaffles it for Geelong in the long sleeves. As we've come to expect, Brad Close heads down to half forward, leaping from the back, Fox, but in front is De Koning. And another powerful contested mark and a one-on-one. He kicks to Hawkins and Cameron. Cameron's up in front. And in the pack of 4, it's Jeremy Cameron who pulls it down.
If it wasn't Cameron, it was going to be Tom Hawkins on, I think it was, who was he on at the time? Blakey as well, so... But again, it's just 2 contested marks that the Sydney, the controllables are. Just get a fist on that Fox. I think he's actually tried to outmark De Koning there.
Cameron with 3 already to make it 4. He hooks it through superbly. He's having another night out. Jeremy Cameron up to 26 goals for the year. And all of a sudden he's starting to get his numbers on track, averaging 4 a game. 61 points the lead for the Cats midway through this third term. 15-5-95, Sydney 5-4-34.
It was 3 contested marks
in a row. Yep.
So Close, De Koning, Cameron. And Sydney could have got a fist on all 3.
Yeah. So they're the little things that John...
Simplify football.
Yeah, which are arguably uncoachable. So they're sitting in there just going, we can't coach these. It was McInerney, actually, that De Koning outmarked. Sorry, I threw Fox under the bus with that one, but he got outmarked from obviously a superstar in Cameron, but it was just a build up to that. The ball shouldn't have got there with such ease, and the ball should arguably still be in the midfield, and Cameron and Hawkins aren't getting those opportunities.
Back in the middle, McLean knocks it down, but Dangerfield steals it, bursts out of the middle, as is customary, to a leading Hawkins. And it's like we're down here on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and this is Geelong training.
And now you've got Gould playing out of the goal square on Hawkins, so it's a lose-lose tonight. I think they're just undermanned, undersized, unfortunately for Sydney. They've tried to do it a number of ways.
So the mark set, 35 metres out, 10 metres in from the boundary line, left forward pocket. Hawkins has got 3, wants to level it up with his mate, Jeremy Cameron. He comes in, the beautiful drop punt is nice. 4 for Tom as the Cats bring up triple figures. 16-5, 101 for Sydney. 5-4-34, 17 minutes into this third term on Grandstand AFL.
What they have done also very well tonight is kick straight the Cats.
That always helps.
Yeah, 16 goals, 5. It's a terrific return. 11 inside 50s to 4 in this quarter. Clearances 7 to 2 in this quarter. So they're doing it very easily now. They're really just having their way. 5 goals, 2 to nothing in this quarter. So 7 scoring shots from their 11 entries.
So they knew they were undermanned and it was going to be a challenge for them in defence. So, but it's about the disappointing thing is about the supply they're actually getting. So it was already an issue. Now they're getting such good supply. There's no pressure. There's no pressure on Dangerfield's kick there. There's no pressure on Blitzarves out of the middle. So everything's unravelling. But I think the most disappointing thing would be we could cop it on the chin if we're actually having a crack inside the stoppages and winning clearances and giving our forwards a chance. But because it's so poor around there, it's just compounding the issue that they're already undermanned in the back half.
We're centre break for the Swans as Rowbottom gets a kick to half forward and there's a pack which develops. Hayward's on the bottom of it. We'll have a ball up half forward for the Swans. Up it goes again. McLean and DeConing share it down. Comes to Tui. He's tackled. Lost the footy. McLean has another go. Chucks it on the left peg. High up and under. Clark and Simpson compete in the air. No clean takeaway. Atkins goes in. Grabs it. Somehow got it out. But straight to Warner of the Swans. Hurried ball out to half forward. Bouncing footy in front of Patley and Stewart. Stewart knocks it away to Holmes. Patley keeps the pressure on. And then Holmes just paddles it straight onto the boot of Stewart. And inadvertently soccers it out of bounds. A free kick for either Patley or Goulden. It's a Sydney free and Errol Goulden's going to take it. High half forward, 70 metres out. Geelong lead the game by 67, a game high, approaching time on in the third.
Goulden stabs it short. Warner, he drops the mark and now he's tackled quickly. Stewart clatters into him and takes him out of play. We'll get a throw in just beyond the attacking 50 for the Swans at left half forward. One of their rare attacking forays in this third quarter. Umpire brings it back in. McLean takes it out of the ruck, kicks it straight into Papley, who then runs onto the football. Handball to Hayward. He's run down by Tui. Spills out to Duncan. Handball to Holmes and the Cats repel. Here's Simpson. Nice little sidestep and a second. Touches it on the ground, then kicks the check side to the wing.
Bouncing footy, close, and McInerney out after it. McInerney soccers it to the boundary line. One bounce out of play. And a throw-in on that eastern wing. Geelong by 67 points. Time on now in the third.
There's the difference in the game. So Tui sticks to tackle. Ball goes outside Sydney's forward 50. Hayward just completely misses Simpson in that tackle.
Boundary throw in to Coney to McLean. McLean grabs it out of the ruck, jams it on the boot, bouncing footy. Down that eastern wing, it'll sit okay for McDonald. He was taken high, got a hand pass away to Clark, moves it quickly to Papley. Papley says, hang on, we want to take the kick back on the wing. And they're going to give Sydney the chance to do that. We'll come back to Logan McDonald, who didn't have a single stat to half-time. And the young developing key forward for the Swans has the footy underneath the red chicky stand on the eastern wing.
He'll kick long, a shallow inside 50 entry. DeConing going up, opposed to McLean. Comes down for Cunningham, tackled quickly. Ball jarring around. Atkins rolls on top of them. Piles in, ball up. 45 metres out from the attacking goal for the Swans. Umpire puts it aloft. DeConing knocks it down to Duncan. Handball to Tui. Snaps around the corner towards the wing. Dangerfield trying to burst onto the footy off Fox. He was hit heavily by the raging bull of Dangerfield. Ends up on top of the footy. Lloyd it is, in fact. Comes up just clutching his shoulder a little bit. Trots away. Umpire puts it up. Again, McLean knocks it down. There's a free kick. It'll go to the Swans.
McLean's going to get it. It was infringed upon in the right contest and taken high by DeConing, who immediately floats into defence. McLean goes short to Errol Goulden. Gets back on his left peg, kicks into the channel at half forward. Holmes back courageously. Takes the intercept mark, back flank, and he's off with max speed as he tucks it under his arm. Has a bounce, kicks down the centre square, but turns it over. Mills back the other way, intercept mark. Hand pass to Warner. Run and carry for the Swans. Long kick to McDonald in a 3-on-1. The kick favours Stewart, and he takes the intercept mark. Left back pocket for Geelong. They lead it by 67 points. Time on quarter 3.
5 goals to zip in this third term for the Cats as the short kick from Kolodjasny finds O'Connor at right half back. Third Irishman to earn himself a premiership medal in our game. O'Connor kicks towards the wing. Francis will go up in front. De Koning caught behind, spoils it down. Radaglia gets a handball away towards Guthrie. This is Cam to Smith to O'Connor. Back to Cam Guthrie. Off a step, he'll kick to the wing.
High up and under. Dangerfield underneath it. Got hands to it. No mark. Florent knocks it on. Lloyd grabs it. Smith's got him. Drilled into the ground and a ball up on the wing. I mentioned last year's grand final. In that game, Rama, Geelong kicked 9 of the first 12 goals, led by 36 at half-time. They then kicked 6 goals to nothing in the third quarter to open up a 74-point lead at three-quarter time.
We're nearly there.
Tonight, Geelong have kicked 9 of the first 11, led by 35 at the half, and they lead by 67 now. So almost identical numbers and a similar pattern to that game as Sydney get it to centre-half forward. Warner, the 1-2 with Laddams. Warner's kick smothered, back into congestion. Simpson runs into traffic. He was taken high, and a free kick to send Simpson at centre-half back. Oh, gets up a little groggy. Taken high in the front on contact from Florent. If anything, he ran straight into the player coming front on. So just a free kick, goes short to Cam Guthrie. Gives the hand pass to Duncan, who burns off Stevens. The 1-2 with Kolodjasny. Duncan then hand pass away to Smith. He's legged, got a hand pass forward, back into the path to Duncan and Cameron. And then a heavy bump on the way through as Duncan just clips Robbie Fox. And the umpire says, hang on, that's a free kick. And Fox is still down, lying on his backside. How did you see that, Beach? Oh, looked like he tucked the arm in looking to bump. And he's caught...
Not for me.
He has caught Fox above the shoulder. I think he's in a bit of trouble, Ram.
Up.
Yeah.
I know you're a player's guy, but no,
yeah.
Mitch Duncan's in a little bit of strife.
I think with the system we live in at the moment, yes.
Swans turn it over in the middle of the ground. Smith comes up with the footy for the Cats, gives it to Blitzarves, to Stewart, who kicks out towards the wing, trying to find Dangerfield out there, getting involved. Tui, close to the boundary line. McInerney carries him out. And we'll get a throw in on the wing.
But Robbie Fox is back up.
Yep, which is good news for Duncan. Oh, just looking at the replay, the side-on shot where he gets contact. It's not just the initial bump, but then it's the head smacking off the playing surface as well in the process.
Umpire spins it in. Laddams drops it down at his feet. Parker crawling after it. McInerney goes in too, knocking it out. Cam Guthrie, Dangerfield, clever, bounces it to himself, then kicks inside, attacking 50. Hawkins at the back, reads it, the best or touch play on, says the umpire. Holding the ball.
I think he's caught him there for had the feint to hand pass, and the umpire said as soon as you've done that, that counts as your basically the new modern interpretation. You've stepped off your line, you wanted to go, and that's play on.
So the Swans will get it back in their back pocket.
Long kick for Sydney down the line, eastern side. McLean flies, no mark, spills to his opposite number in Tui. Kicks inside 50. Henry crashes through, no mark. Hawkins going to get another go. Shoots a hand pass to the hot spot. Florence got it, closest got him. Lays the tackle and will have a ball up, 25 out from the Geelong goal.
Yeah, and I just watched that Duncan incident again. Fox has responsibility too within that contest. He could turn more.
From the
or not go to ground.
Restart, Gould got boot the ball, kick smothered, ricochets out to Florent. He gets a little bit of boot on it. The ball sprays up the side of his boot now to play, and the ump says that's deliberate. Looks more like a skill error, but Geelong are getting a free kick. Izzy Smith to take it, kicks to the top of the goal square. Mills went to spoil, could have marked it uncontested. Sits okay for Simpson, centre half forward. Hand pass to Cameron, hands it to Tui, sells the dummy, and he pops it through. Zach Tui. Highlight goals in back-to-back weeks for the Irishman. Just took his defender to the candy shop and then popped it through.
What do they sell in the Irish candy shop?
I'm not quite sure, Dave.
Potatoes.
All sorts of potatoes. 73 points, Geelong's lead. 17-5, 107. Sydney 5-4, 34.
Got a good close-up of Zach Tui there. He's giggling to himself there. He knows the Sydney player, whoever that was, just bought the whole shop, basically. Who was it?
Rammers is dealing with a few...
Mozzies. I got a Mozzie in here.
Mozzies.
Oh, it was Harry Cunningham.
Harry Cunningham.
He mentioned to us last week he's kicked a few goals, but he hasn't had too many sort of highlight reel goals in his post-game interview, and I think both of those will count in that category.
All I say about is they just showed the Duncan Fox incident. Duncan has every right to protect himself in that instance. When you look at it in slow-mo and where Fox was in relation to the ball.
Didn't have much time, did he? As Dangerfield kicks inside 50 out of the middle, and Hawkins leading up at the footy marks 40 out tight angle.
Because what's Mitch Duncan's other option? Just to move and
He's
let
running
him go.
towards the ball.
That's right.
He's trying to get to the ball, and Fox slips, which makes it worse.
Will the match review officer see it that way, though?
So I
feel
hope
like
so.
that's
the common sense part of it.
And that's the part you've grown up with, that you're always taught to protect yourself in those moments.
Absolutely.
But it feels like nowadays the interpretations we're getting from the MRO suggest that they want you to be left exposed and wide open, which will cause all sorts of damage. Yeah.
The Cats have kicked 6 unanswered in this third term. Hawkins from 45 has kicked his 5th. 5 for the Tomahawk. The lead is out to 79. 18-5, 113 plays, 5-4-34. And for whatever it's worth, Tom Hawkins draws level with Barry Hall in 16th on the all-time goal-kicking list.
16th. He's had a good night. Second in the Cats games, and now moves up a peg in the all-time goal kickers. I said this last week. Tom Hawkins is one of the more unselfish full forwards that I've seen in this game. I think he would have been, well over sort of 750 towards 800 with the amount he's passed off through his career. But it's just reward now. What are we up to? Hawkins has got 4, 5 now. 5, and Cameron 4. There's 9 between them.
I mentioned the comparisons to the grand final. It was 6 unanswered goals, Rammer, in the third quarter that day. But 7 unanswered goals here for the Cats in the third tonight in the rematch. As Laddams gets the centre break in the middle, kicks to centre, half forward, and Francis leaping up in the middle of the pack, pulls it down. And he'll kick from 30 out directly in front.
That's what Aaron Francis can do, BJ. Obviously, he was a teammate of yours. Yep. He can do that. Yeah.
It's just, he's one of those guys you can't allow to run and jump freely at the footy because he has such a good leap and he actually does read it quite well. So the issue was when you get someone that actually bodies him and doesn't allow him to jump, then what else does he have to offer?
Francis to stop the bleeding. He can't. Misses out to the left. 18-5 to 5-5 to score at least in quarter number 3 for the Sydney Swans. It comes at the 30-minute mark. The first time they've been able to put a score on the board in this third term.
Good news is all of the play's been down at the end where the grandstand is and the patrons are sitting, not in front of the empty rebuild. Loose footy on the wing. Dangerfield just soccers it forward. Cameron runs at the footy, picks it up at full speed, low down. Handball to Blitzarves. He's run down, loses the ball. Now the Swans going after it. Warner. He's bundled over as he gathers the football, gets a handball forward, close to the boundary line. McDonald soccers it forward. Radagalia swats it out. Throw in at left half forward. Now for the Swans. 18-5, 113 plays, 5-5-35, the Cats lead.
$78-point lead. And the Premiers show up big in the Premiership quarter again. They pitch a shutout on the goal kickers list in that third term. 7 unanswered. In a match which has followed closely the script from Grand Final Day last year. Geelong 18-5, 113. Sydney 5-5, 35. A lopsided contest, and the home team are up by 78 points as we turn for home. The goal kickers, well, Tom and Jerry, they've got 9 between them. Tom Hawkins with 5, Jeremy Cameron with 4, and then 2 each for Ollie Henry and Sam Simpson. Singles for Tui, Rowan, Dangerfield, Close and Blitzarves. While for the Sydney Swans, Will Hayward's got a couple, 1 to Stevens, Heaney and Papley. None of them able to register a goal. In fact, they kicked just 1 behind for that entire third quarter. 18-5, 113. Geelong lead the Sydney Swans 5-5-35 at three-quarter time. We're on ABC Radio. We're also going on News Radio throughout New South Wales. We're on Sport Digital, and for the first time in 2023, we are streaming through the ABC Listen app. So just look out for the AFL button, and you can hear any game of the 2023 AFL Premiership season at your convenience. Off the SMS 0437 774 774. Shane in Coffs Harbour. When the Swans drop uncontested marks, their controlling game plan falls apart. There's a bit of that happening tonight, and from Basil in New South Wales, 4 each. Does that make it the Tom and Jerry show? So it's always the Tom and Jerry show. They've got 9 between them tonight. And from Rob, Fox came from behind Cameron, and Duncan was in a straight line for the ball, so he didn't have any time to change direction or do anything else. I see him being given 2 and then heading to the tribunal to try and challenge it. So Rob already forecasting the move from the match review officer. It'll be fascinating to see how that's handled when that comes out tomorrow night. This is Grandstand AFL. It is three-quarter time. It is the Cats who lead the grand final rematch by 78 points. The thoughts of Rama and BJ next on Grandstand AFL.
Victor Moa, Boomerang, Hills Hoist, one-day cricket. Aussies are an inventive lot.
It couldn't have been made anywhere else.
Tony Armstrong is rolling open the shed door to explore Aussie creations.
They tell us who we are and the times we live in.
And in there lies the charm.
From Speedos to Stubbies to the humble meat pie.
Enjoy the show.
Great Australian stuff. Tuesday nights on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Cameron looking for his third. He celebrates the moment it leaves the boot.
Henry on the set shot. His drop punt sails through. More of the same for the Cats.
Umpire lays it down in the middle. Both rucks with hands on it. Warner coming through. Handball chopped off by Blitzarves. Storming out of the middle for the Cats to Rowan. Beautiful play from Geelong. Rowan comes in and drives it through. Rinse and repeat for the Cats.
Cameron with 3 already to make it 4. He hooks it through superbly.
Hawkins has got 3. Wants to level it up with his mate Jeremy Cameron. He comes in. The beautiful drop punt is nice. 4 for Tom.
Sits okay for Simpson, centre half forward. Hand pass to Cameron. Hands it to Tui. Sells the dummy. And he pops it through. Zach Tui. Highlight goals in back-to-back weeks for the Irishman.
The Cats have kicked 6 unanswered in this third term. Hawkins from 45 has kicked his 5th.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
And now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Geelong doing what the Premiers do. They dominated the third quarter. They kicked 7 unanswered goals and lead by 78 at three-quarter time. If you saw last year's grand final and you haven't seen much of tonight, it's basically followed a very similar script. Unfortunately, some sad news coming through during that third quarter that Barry Humphries has died aged 89, one of Australia's most beloved and successful comedians, and if known and loved by millions for his characters like Dame Edna Everage. The actor and comedian was in St Vincent's Hospital in Sydney for hip surgery. His publicist confirmed to the ABC on Saturday night that he had sadly passed away. So aged 89, valet Barry Humphries. Three-quarter time here at Cadinia Park. Adam Ramanauskas and Brendan Goddard on Grandstand AFL with their take.
Well, I think as we made mention that when you're already vulnerable in your defensive half and you're down a couple of key defenders and you have Jeremy Cameron and Tom Hawkins in the opposing forward line, the last thing you can do is allow, or they're on track anyway, for roughly 60 inside 50s a game, and it's what the quality of those inside 50s look like. So I think the most disappointing thing for Sydney is just the defensive side of the game, when clearance numbers are actually not as bad as what I thought they would, just 33-27, but it's the quality of those entries and Sydney's, I guess, lack of ability to put those under pressure, force Geelong into a dump kick forward, which will actually give the defenders a better chance. So it's just around the pressure, the intensity around the ball, which I think they tried to fix maybe 10 minutes into that third quarter with the change of Mills. We spoke about it being a positional change, putting him in the midfield. Again, fix it at the source. I talked about that before the game. So I think, and just as they go out to their positions now, Mills is back in the middle too, so they're running with that again. But I think that's been the biggest concern for Sydney tonight, of which the ease that Geelong, one, have won the ball around stoppages or walked it out of stoppages, and then two, just their ability to defend in general play when Geelong actually win the ball back or Sydney do turn it over, just the ability to slow the opposition down, being Geelong, and then to get the ball back off them. So Jeremy Cameron, Tom Hawkins are always going to be an issue throughout the night, so hopefully you could put the white flag up, being Sydney, if they've had 45 inside 50s, they're just too good. But when you give the quality of those two forwards 60 inside 50s and the ball use and the lack of pressure going forward that Geelong have copped, they've really put themselves under pressure, to be honest. So a lot of things obviously have to go wrong when you're being beaten by 80 points at the end of the third quarter. So they'll get a number of players back. I know it's still a quarter to go, but it's all about trying to just get something out of this game that they can move into next week with a bit of positivity.
Final term underway. Cats by 12 goals. Blitzarms wins it down to Cam Guthrie, and the BNF winner squeezes a kick forward. Heading up to meet it is Lloyd in the other direction. He's going to get a couple of goes at it, Jake Lloyd, still trying to wrestle through that rolling maul, and in the end the umpire says, I'll have it. Ball up again in the centre square. 74 the margin, three-quarter time on grand final day. It's 78 at the moment the Cats' way as Dangerfield ushers it out to Atkins. He's slung around in the tackle from Papley, taken to ground. Again, the umpire just lets him go. Bowes hand pass out to Gordon. He's taken high in the tackle. Slipping over the shoulder, O'Connor. And
50.
Errol's going to get the free kick, and now 50.
As we talk about, Aaron Francis has actually started forward now, just gone the old traditional go behind the ball in general play. So he's the spare for Sydney. But then what you do, you run the risk of freeing up Tom Stewart, who's arguably the best in the competition at doing it. So it's...
what was it 50 for?
Actually, not sure. It sounded like maybe a bit of dissent.
Right.
I think the reaction from the umpire.
Game number 50 in the Sydney Derby next week, so Saturday afternoon against the Giants. It's a nice little set he's put together in his first 50 at AFL level, as he has a little chuckle at some of the words coming his way as he lines up to take this set shot. He's ordinarily a really nice left-footed kick. He misses out to the right. That's his third behind this evening. So he hasn't kicked one so far. The number 21 on his back, Errol Goulden. 77 points, Geelong's lead, early doors, final term.
Stewart with the kick in for the Cats, out towards halfback, holding free kick. There's a Swan down who's a little sore as well, Cunningham. He'll end up with the free kick. Harry Cunningham, man on the mark, set 55 out. Looks as if he'll just set it up towards the hot spot. Looking for a marker. Radicalea at the back. McDonald in front. Hands to it. Spills down to Dangerfield. Handball away to De Koning to Dangerfield. Logan McDonald runs him down. Just gets his handball away. And then Atkins is quickly tackled.
That's better by Logan McDonald. Showing some intent in this game. He's had a quiet night. He's only had the two possessions for the game, 2 kicks for the game, but at least there's some intent to chase.
Blitzarves wins it down, but Heaney comes up with it. Kick it half forward, smothered. Tui with the 1%er, and the ball's out of play half forward for the Swans.
Mick Malthouse, I think, said last week, Rammer, something I didn't mind. If you try and defend like that and chase and tackle, it takes you to the ball.
Correct.
Gives you a great opportunity to impact the game.
Cats by 77 on the boundary throw-in. Blitzarves just puts his fist through it, up to the wing. Close, runs onto it. It all opens up for him. Ran out of partners. Hand pass in, ball to turnover. Fox, gave it away, and his teammate immediately under the pump. It's Florent, he's caught. Free kick, and Gary Rowan wins possession back against his old team for Geelong.
Goes inside 50. The kick's not great. Through the hands, though, there of Roberts. Coming through, able to pick it up. Lakey for the Swans. His handball through the hands of Mills. Now Florent onto the football. Hot potato for the Swans. Parker's handball eventually gets back in the end to Francis, who kicks into the middle of the ground, and Dangerfield marks. The Geelong get it back almost right on the centre line.
Swings it across the ground to Stewart. Still inside the centre square, pokes his pass out to half forward. What do we thought of Sam De Koning in the ruck tonight? Obviously we've seen Tom ruck for periods at Carlton. There's a ruck forward, but his brother Sam having to go as he fends off Goulden. From 70 out, he kicks inside the forward 50, and Francis has got it this time with the sticky mitts, takes the intercept mark.
I think it's a little bit of out of necessity tonight. I don't think Geelong would want Sam Koenig too often in the ruck.
Their future star key defender in the running up and jumping in the ruck.
Swans work it up to the wing, the switch to McDonald, and he finds Heaney defensive side of the wing.
Heaney will kick long around the Reg Hickey stand, getting back Radhi Galea. Stands neatly underneath it and takes a nice mark. Wants to switch it quickly, goes back inside the defensive 50. Kolajasny. He'll keep the switch going out towards Mark O'Connor at left half back.
Because it's been such an uncontested game of football, Paddy Dangerfield has had 2 contested possessions in this game.
You've never seen that before?
No. He had,
quite literally, you'd never see that.
He had 19 for context on grand final day, which he was close to best on ground, I think, at half time. And you see Izzy Smith got the nod just ahead of him that day. Radhi Galea trying to play on at half back. He was out of play, found the boundary line. He was a little surprised. We'll have a boundary throw in after all that. 60 out from the Swans goal. Wide margin, Geelong by 77. Early stages, final turn from the boundary throw-in. Comes down to Mills. He's tackled, trying to get his kick away. And when you can't do that successfully, it's holding the ball. Free kick for Brian Myers. Defensive side of the wing. Around the corner he goes. Sort of Matthew Suckling-esque as he hits up Atkins, who takes the mark against the boundary line eastern side. He'll poke the pass along the wing. And there's Max Holmes.
Biggie Suckling getting a shout out as Holmes chips it over the top and coming up. Mark taken by Hawkins, or was it? Umpire says play on and throw it in.
Big start for Will Gould, isn't it? So comes on as the sub last week, plays on Jack Rewalt. Comes on as the sub this week, plays on Tom Hawkins. It's an undersized back.
From the frying pan into the fire, Laddams wins the tap down to Warner, gets a kick away. Laddams trying to get onto it. Heaney does eventually, emerges from the congestion, gives it off to Lloyd, kicks across the defensive edge of the square for the Swans. Mark taken by Goulden. They lead at the moment by 77 points, the Cats, and Goulden turns it over straight to Holmes. Mark's defensive edge of the bullseye in the middle of the ground for the Cats.
Holmes out to half forward. Blitz halves the target. Blakey got a hand on it, but it spills through to Dangerfield. Shoots a hand pass to Myers. He's inside 50. Kicks for Rowan, who's up and marking. And Chucky Rowan's got it right forward pocket for the Cats.
Do you need to correct yourself, Adam?
No. Never admit mistakes. No. Look, we've had a little computer issue here.
Someone will tweet in or text in.
Yeah, they're telling me a few lies. The contested possessions in this game, so I'm not sure what's happening with our technology here, but
Rowan steps out, snaps off his unpreferred, and he misses. Hooking a left footer through to the near side, so back to 78 points. Geelong's way. We've travelled 7 minutes into this final term. Games followed very similar trimmings, Ben, to last year's grand final.
Kick up the middle, Dangerfield comes in and intercept marks. 45 metres out, directly in front. Lloyd's kick in just chopped off by the Geelong superstar. He's already kicked one today, Paddy D. Some will have you believe that he was best on ground on grand final day. A little stutter. Boot to ball from 49. His kick is just away to the left. Behind. Reinstate their three-quarter time lead. 78 points.
Blakey plays on and he's turned it over. So back-to-back kick-outs, both times. Mark's inside 50 for the Cats and Simpson's got it half forward.
Explain to me, what's the point of playing on outside the square to kick it like that?
Yep.
Not well, he clearly wasn't trying to
I know that, BJ, but if you're playing on, you're taking it outside 50, you're trying to get it 80 metres away from your goal.
Yes and no, because if I'm a defender, I'm reading the cues of Blakey, and he has the ability to actually screw it across.
I reckon, Beej, if that's you, you're kicking out long and wide.
Long.
You're putting your foot through it. Here's Sam Simpson to try and make the Swans pay, and he can't. That's 3 straight behinds.
But a lot of that, what Blakey did there, sorry, Corbs, is to kick it short than to get the 1-2.
No, that wasn't. He couldn't have. So what he's trying to do, he's trying to draw the defenders out to the boundary, which opens up that space he tried to kick it in. And in his defence, Luke Parker was actually free. He just missed the kick by about 5 metres.
Geelong by 80.
Here come Geelong. They've won it back again inside their attacking 50. Rowan close to the boundary line. Snaps it back towards full forward. A fist goes through it from Francis. Free kick. It'll go to the Swans.
That wasn't a kick to the pocket then and run past to get the next cheap one. That wasn't one of those. That was, I don't know, the last time I remember kicking him for Sydney is when the smallest man in the AFL smothered it for Essendon and then they end up beating us by a point.
That's right.
Here's Goulden. He kicks to the wing.
I tried to kick that long there just in my defence.
Was Gary Rowan that night as well?
Yeah.
The Cats win it back again, and Stewart.
Pat Lee that smothered it, just for those that don't know. It's probably on bloody YouTube or something somewhere.
The Cats kick it across halfback.
But I digress. Geelong by 80 points. They work it up to the wing, and Simpson's got it. Hand pass away to Holmes. We'll get down to Loz in a moment. Hand pass away to Nevitt. He hands it off towards Zach Guthrie. Back to Holmes. He's kicked a half forward, a turnover. Gould takes the intercept mark. Slingshot back the other way. To the hands of Mills, to Warner, to Clark. Back to Warner. Takes a bounce. Chips inside the centre square. This is Laddams who takes the mark.
We will need to entertain ourselves a little bit this quarter.
We're going to need to. 80 points, Geelong's lead. As Laddams kicks inside the forward pocket. Heaney to target. Stewart over the top. Took out his own teammate in Colin Jasny. They're both okay. And the ball's out of play. Forward pocket for the Swans. Lauren Borden on the boundary. Loz.
There were a lot of cheers for Mitch Nevitt when he just got subbed on and ran onto the field. He's come on for Cam Guthrie. He's taken his boots off. So a lot of confusion on the Geelong bench for a while, but finally it was Cam Guthrie who was told he won't be playing anymore tonight.
From the throw-in, onto it, Zach Guthrie at ground level. He's tackled quickly.
Cam Guthrie subbed out on grand final day for Brandon Parfitt.
Umpire puts it aloft. Laddams trying to take it out of the ruck. Kicks a high ball towards full forward. And Radaglia stands tallest. Brings it down. He'll have it at fullback. Gives it off to Stewart. A long kick towards halfback. And the mark taken by Henry for the Cats. Now he runs away with it. Looks into the corridor. Looking for Rowan. Getting a fist in. Blakey for the Swans. Brings it down. Onto the football quickly is Roberts. Handball errant. Holmes gets it back for the Cats.
Hand pass away to Tui. Polly Farmer hand pass down to Duncan, and he shoots one forward to Myers. 60 out, kicks for Hawkins. He's diving forward to take the mark in front of Francis and Gould. And Tom Hawkins, in characteristic fashion, just uses the footy for leverage on his way up as he pushes down on the Sharon. And he'll have a shot here from just inside 50 at right half forward.
He's such a smart kick, Graham Myers, away. He just, right at the last moment, just pulled that kick. Could have went to Cameron in the pocket.
Cameron wasn't that happy about it. Being in the...
But he's so good at it,
the right
Myers.
pocket that favours the left footer. Yeah, he is. So is Blakey. He can screw it across his body out from full back.
Except he misses the target.
They've kicked 9 between them, the two All-Australian forwards. Here's Hawkins to try and make it half a dozen for himself, right to the behind line. Hasn't gone through. Rowan tries to keep it alive. Gets a hand pass out to Henry. Forward pocket. He's tackled without it. Hump says play on. Oh, the non-controlling umpire says free kick. So the man on the scene said play on. Campbell went racing away with the footy, and the non-controlling umpire from midfield says that's a hold. Free kick for Henry in the pocket.
50 metres away.
And the other umpire probably saw the mayo that Henry put on it.
So if the free kick is spotted by one of the four, the free kick's paid. Ollie Henry trying to bend it through. He misses to the far side of behind. So Geelong move to 18-9. Sydney a 5-6. It's an 81-point lead. That's how it finished on grand final day, 14 minutes into the final term. They've kicked 6 behinds without a goal, Geelong, in this final term.
Campbell with the kick in, sends it out towards the eastern side of the ground. And a free kick is going to go the way of Atkins. So Geelong win it back again. Atkins comes infield, just forward of the logo O'Connor. He'll kick into the middle of the ground. Stewart marks. He stops for the time being, then off a step. Kicks a bit of a floater that fortuitously lands in the lap of Simpson. 40 metres out, slightly left of centre. And it's all just coming up the Cats.
Just a quick rep, 4 behinds they've kicked in this final term, Geelong.
What's his Simpson's had It's his 13th possession. Tom Hawker's just getting a big cheer coming off the ground here. He's kicked 2 goals, 1 Simpson, so his 4th scoring opportunity here.
Haven't had a goal in this final term yet. But to keep the Cats coming, the kick's out to the right. In the end, it'll be fisted through on the goal line. A minor score.
Would be a bad spot to watch the football with the just all by himself in the new stand there, collects the footy. Had a little esky next to you. Why not?
We are running out of things to talk about, aren't we?
Got the stack out on and the high vis vest.
Well, it's him and the cameraman. Just
a bit excessive, isn't it?
Fox marks the kick out, heads to that outer wing to Clark.
He's on a work site.
Hand pass to Cunningham to McLean. Handball away to Stevens. Kick smothered. It's out of bounds. We'll have a throw in on that outer wing.
They could have got him a little deck chair or something there.
You have to wear high vis on the work site.
Reminds me of sort of Fremantle Oval with the old concrete sort of steps. Did you guys ever play out there? Any pre-season games?
Where's that, sorry?
Fremantle Oval?
No.
82 points. A lead for Geelong from the boundary throw-in. Blitzarv sockers it back out wide, close to the boundary line. Nevitt put his head in there along with Lloyd. Pack forms behind him. Says play on, and Rowbottom emerges with the footy. Hand pass went straight to Holmes. He gives one along the ground to Myers. Back to Nevitt. And the Blondies tackled and held up. We'll have a ball up on that outer wing. It's Mitch Nevitt, by the way, the sub who played in round 8 and 9 last year. One of 4 debutants in the premiership year for the Cats. There is only 2 games previously.
Blitzarves wins the tap down. Dangerfield still fighting after the footy. Holmes, little handball around the boundary. Over it, throw in.
Do you think that anyone that plays a game in the premiership year deserves a medal? American style?
I'd be more inclined to go over a certain number. Not just one game, but even then. Would you feel as much a part of it?
Basketballers, and they
do. Even if they're traded to another team, they get it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is it they play one game, they get traded the next day?
Yep, they get a ring.
Yep.
You'd be getting it if you could, wouldn't you? One of those rings as well.
Yeah, they're worth.
Hayward in the middle of the ground for the Swans. Kicks out towards the western wing. And Campbell's able to mark. Goes short with his left foot kick to Clark. He'll give it off to McInerney. Wheeling by. Then he goes short latch. His kick is good. It finds Goulden.
Goulden spinning his finger, trying to wind up some sort of a lead for himself. In the end, he's just got to lay it up to the top of the goal square. Hands on it from McDonald after a big shove and gives away a free kick.
Cameron.
Jeremy Cameron is on the last
line. He just doesn't
line.
need to be there, Cameron, but this is the work rate.
Top of the defensive goal square. It comes out to Ollie Henry, who leaps at the footy. No mark. Touched by McInerney. I thought they both had a piece of it. The ump said McInerney had enough of it to be paid the juggled mark. McInerney chips it short down to half forward. A diving effort for Ollie Florent. Crowded forward 50. Spared every player in there. So he kicks it in the Papley direction, who isn't the tallest of them, and in the end, an intercept mark to O'Connor. And the hot spot for Sydney, about 20 metres out from their attacking goal. It's Geelong by 82 points, 17 gone in the last. We haven't had a single goal ban in 17 and a half minutes of footy.
O'Connor goes back to Stewart. He goes laterally. And here's Izzy Smith kicking on his non-preferred right beyond offensive 50, and Parker will come up and mark. 55 metres out from goal. So the Swans back with the footy. Attacking the Barwon River end. He just sets it up towards the hot spot. Radagalia fists it away. Back into the corridor, but it spills for Simpson. Stops on a dime. Handball for Dangerfield. Handball for Atkins, too hot. O'Connor goes in. Handball to Dangerfield. Just gets a handball out. Now Zach Guthrie. Handball in close confines. Trying to get it to Atkins. Blitzarves coming through. Gives it off to Cameron. A high kick to the wing.
Tough one to mark. Spoiled away by Francis into the path of Blakey. Hand pass of turnover straight to Bowes on the wing. Geelong a chance downhill. Rowan shoots a hand pass out to his fellow speedster in Holmes. Kicks inside 50. Smith caught at the back. 2 Swans collide. Warner involved. Comes down to Blakey. Blakey's hand pass to Campbell. Through centre half back for Sydney. Not a heap of options. Just has to bang it away blindly. It'll land in front of Radagalia. He collects on the hop and sends Geelong back down to half forward.
Kicks to Zach Guthrie, who gives it off to Dangerfield. Blowing by, kicks inside 50 and close marks in the right forward pocket 25 metres out.
It's good play. Good play by the Cats. I think when a team does this to you twice in the space of 7 games, it does have an impact. It has to have an impact on you.
What's Sydney's record like down here?
Pretty
Robin?
good. They've won
not
3 of
bad.
their last 4.
Yeah.
Against Geelong.
Here's close from the pocket. He puts it through the middle. He's kicked a couple, and the Cats continue this run. 7 unanswered in the third term. They've got the only goal of the fourth.
Jeez.
And the lead blows out 19-10, 124 to 5-6, 36, 19 and a half into the fourth.
And what they have done, the Cats, over the previous, including this 3-week period now, is gain some percentage. Well, I said that again when they played Hawthorn. They picked up 29%. They picked up some good percentage last week, and it's going to happen again this week. So, you know,
I'm fascinated in the Sydney conversation here. I mean, we
Yeah.
looked at it last year through the prism of the Bulldogs. These teams that get pumped on grand final day, there's been 8 of them now since 2000. None of the previous 7 have won a single final the next year. Swans have talked about, look, we dealt with the scarring and everything else, but gee, the very next opportunity you get, and the game's almost identical.
yeah, and it's almost like that, but you can give an excuse, you can give a reason this time. I think personnel, they are down. So it's a different looking setup.
Cats by 88. Centre break for Sydney. Rowbottom out of the middle. Kicks to McLean. Drops a chest mark. Spills through to Kolodjasny. Hand pass away to Tui. Grabs it. Bursts away in the wrong direction. Hand pass out to Kolodjasny, who just kicks hurriedly to half back. Spoiled away by McInerney. Falls down into the pump to Patley for the Swans. He looks into the corridor. Half volley pick up for Heaney. Couldn't take it clean. Zach Guthrie gets rid of him. Wins the ball. Hand pass to Atkins. Away to Coney. Shoots a hand pass to Bowes. Hand pass out to Myers. He's tackled, dispossessed. Swans win it back. Here's McInerney. Hand pass to Clark. Tackled. Somehow got a kick away under the pump to Stevens.
Here's Stevens at the bottom of the pack. They jump on top of him, ball up.
But in saying that, it's the same manner.
Yeah.
I think in the way Geelong have played again tonight, in the way they've been able to beat Sydney.
Swatting it down to Koning. Straight to Heaney, though. Snaps the Swans inside 50. Coming up, Kolodjasny drops the chest mark. Radigalia goes in. McLean knocks it out. Picked up by McDonald. Inside 50 for the Swans. Snaps a high ball back to a central position. To Koning. Reaching out. He cradles it in. He marks 40 metres out from the Cats' defensive goal. They lead by 88 points, 22 minutes into the fourth. Sorry, Rama.
And what Sydney have been they're so good at forcing their will upon you for the way they want the game to be played. That's how they've won so many games for over so many years. Geelong just don't allow it.
Just to back up your point, Geelong started the game. The Swans have also lost 25% of their percentage as well. So before the game, they were 132.4. They're currently 106.
Yeah.
So huge knock for them tonight. Oh, it's Dangerfield. Just works his way in front of Rowbottom and out muscles him to take a big mark on the wing as he gets up the skipper and drives it down to half forward. Couple of one-on-ones. Gould goes to the spoil, but out the back, Henry running onto it. Collects for Geelong. Hand pass in behind Myers. He's good enough to control it. Gives it back to Henry. Hand pass to Mitch Nevitt. Kicks off his left boot inside 50. Cameron hitting up and marking. And Jezza leaping up in front of Robbie Fox. Pulls it down. Gee, and nobody stood the mark as yet. Trying to stop him from arcing around, and he'll have a kick out wide, 40 from home.
He kept referencing what it looked like in the grand final, but it was something like Geelong won the contested possession by plus 40. Tonight it's plus 23.
Here's Cameron. He's got 5-2. And Cameron and Hawkins have 10 between them as they run a mark on this undersized Sydney backline. Half of Geelong's score, 20-10-1-30. Sydney 5-6-36. The Cats by 94. 23 gone final term. Brendan Goddard, Adam Ramanauskas.
Yeah, so it's similar in a lot of ways. You may mention the contested possessions. Apologies again. We've been referencing that it's a low contested possession night, but it's not the numbers we're seeing. on the screen. But I think the more concerning thing for Sydney, I said this quarter, is more about getting something out of it moving forward, and it clearly hasn't happened, has it? They're losing structure ahead of the ball. They're all getting sucked up, almost kick chasing. A lot of their small forwards up around the ball, that when they do win it, yes, they've got numbers around the footy in the midfield, but when they actually try and go forward, Geelong are 2 or 3 sitting behind the ball, and then their inability then to find the Geelong player in transition and stop them from moving the ball from D50 to forward 50 has been pretty poor this last quarter.
Swans out of the middle, off hands. Ratugolea gets a handball away, looking for Tui. Now picking it up, Hayward. He loses it under pressure. Kolajasny goes in. Handball to Holmes. Handball out towards Zach Guthrie, who tries a big don't argue and pulls it off. He'll kick towards the wing. And Laddams marks for the Swans. Waits his kick. It's a good kick to find Callum Mills. Attacking edge of the square.
When you're in this, there's very little time to go, but trust me, Geelong will want the 100-point win.
Mm-hmm.
Mills kicks.
No, they won't get it now.
Towards left half forward, and Papley marks, who gets the jeers. 45 metres out.
Suckly. Because he's a star.
Yeah.
He'll have to kick it all of 50. The man on the mark, maybe he'll run around a little. Tom Papley arcs out to the right, drives it on target. It is across the face. And it gets a big cheer from the Geelong faithful. 93 points is the Cats' ascendancy. 25 and a half minutes into the fourth term.
20-10 to 5-7, a 93-point lead for Geelong as Tom Stewart goes on a bit of a run, drives it up to the wing and off hands. It'll slip out of bounds. A boundary throw in eastern side. Next week, Essendon for the Cats. Obviously, they're still to play this weekend on Tuesday, Anzac Day. The Bombers, of course, up against the Pies. That's Geelong's next opponent Sunday at G. For Sydney, they'll play the Giants in their crosstown rivalry, the Sydney Derby, next Saturday. From the boundary throw-in, comes down to Bledsoe. He soccers it away to Florent. And the grand final rematch turns out to be the grand final replayed. Geelong in a bloodbath by 93 points, even wider than last year's decider.
We are Geelong, the greatest team of all. We are Geelong, we're always on the ball. We play the game as it should be played, at home or far away. Our banners fly high from north to north, now that Cardinia Park.
They were the best team on the final day of 2023. They're far too good for Sydney again tonight in their first meeting of the new season. 10 between Hawkins and Cameron. They both finished with 5 each. 2 for Henry, Close, Simpson and Rowan. Meanwhile, singles for Dangerfield, Bledsoes, Tui and Bowes. Geelong kicking 20, a huge percentage spike and a 93-point win.
The greatest team of all. We are Geelong, we're always on the ball. We play the game as it should be played, at home or far away. Our banners fly high from north to dark, now that Cardinia Park.
It was 81 points on grand final day. It's 93 points in the finish tonight. Geelong led by 35 points at half-time, and after the half, they kicked 9 goals to zip. Sydney didn't kick a single goal in the second half of the grand final rematch. It was another grim night for the Swans, albeit with an undersized backline. Obviously, the McCartan lads both missing, no Rampy. Marty added to the injury list during the week, already without key backs like Melican and Reid, who can fill a post in defence, and of course Lance Franklin also absent. Sydney 5-7-37, their goal kickers, Hayward with 2, Stevens with 1, Heaney and Papley also with singles. It didn't change in the second half. A 93-point win for Geelong on the night they unfurl the premiership flag, their homecoming to Cardinia Park, and it's a similar result as it was on grand final day last year, a drubbing of last year's runners-up, Sydney, by 93 points. Brendan Goddard and Adam Ramanauskas, and their initial thoughts at the end of all that.
Well, it was a domination, really, from start to finish from the Cats. It's their first four-quarter performance effort of the season. They started incredibly well, 6-2 in that opening quarter. They look fast, they look sharp, they look like they were going through the gears today, which they haven't been able to really do in previous weeks. They played well against Hawthorn and West Coast to get the win, but this has clearly been their most impressive performance of the season so far. It looked like they needed that first month of games really to find their feet, to find their form, to find their hardness again. I just love the way tonight they moved the football. I thought to take away what Sydney actually want to do against you, they want to force the game into a contest. They want to force the game into a stoppage, and Geelong simply didn't allow that. Clearances were even, basically 36-35 in Geelong's favour. So the clearance game really was irrelevant if you look at the overall score. But Sydney only went inside forward 50-40 times. That's really disappointing when they still had a very good midfield in there. Parker 21 possessions, Chad Warner only
that's
only
arguably
19.
where they had the advantage tonight, with Laddams, coming off a bit of form, but coming off a good game last week. Blitzars, we know he's shown some All-Australian kind of form in the past as a ruckman,
as a utility,
as a utility, but more so he's played in the ruck at extended periods. But arguably they had the advantage tonight, so that's the most concerning thing for me, that they would have known that, I think, and talked about it. This were our advantage, but then early with a bit of tactics. I know, I apologise for those out there that we talked a lot of tactics tonight, but it was having an effect on him, that they're allowing Geelong to have that +1 up at the stoppage, just because they wanted the support behind the ball, but that wasn't working. So they needed to starve Geelong at the source. But and you made mention of the clearance numbers before, it was quite even on paper, but the quality of the clearances that Geelong were getting were far superior to Sydney, with a lack of pressure when they did win it, and then they'd arguably just bypass that spare they had in defence that was trying to provide support for Callum Mills and Blakey, that were both on, and Fox, that were both on Cameron and Hawkins. So there's just, again, they tried it one way, then they tried another, I think, in the second half. Mills into the midfield to actually get them going in as inside mids.
That was 55 points down when they brought Mills in.
But still, they... So arguably too little, too late, but at least they tried something. But then again, my point is that didn't work either.
Yeah.
So then again, the numbers still look the same, but the quality that was coming out from Geelong, there was a lack of pressure. Again, in an ideal world, the backs want the ball kicked under pressure, high dump kick, so it's easy to defend, intercept mark, and then go from there. And then you made mention that their ball use, it was clear what they were trying to do. They were trying to pick apart Sydney, which they did. And on a ground like Geelong, I've been a long time since I have played here, but when you did play here, you knew it was easy to defend. You force teams in the long kick. It's narrower. It's got the length, but the width is really narrow. So it's actually easier to defend as a team. But that was, I think, the most concerning thing for Sydney, is around the contest. The pressure intensity was really poor. And then when Geelong actually got the ball and turned it over in general play, their ability to slow Geelong down and then win it back off them was really poor. Geelong just picked them apart.
Is that unusual? I mean, they're the number one pressure team in the league this year. They were the number one pressure team in the league last year. So that's Sydney's brand. That's their
identity. Correct.
And how do they come here tonight? Grand final rematch. Should be a heap on the line. They want to make up for all the wrongs of last year, and they're sort of anti-competitive around the ball when the game's hot early.
Well, they just weren't allowed to do that. I think that's credit to Geelong and what they actually wanted to, or how they wanted to play this the game tonight. So it was eerily similar, like you said, Corb, all night to the grand final. Geelong never let Sydney settle in the grand final, and they never let Sydney settle tonight again. So when Sydney settle into a game, it becomes a grindy sort of contest. That's why they are a great pressure side. But when you've only had 70 odd stoppages for the game, including centre bounce, that's not enough for Sydney.
Yep. Is it a worry though for John Longmire that this is starting to become a little bit of a trend too, in the sense that even in their losses, like the Port Adelaide game, for example, they go quiet for large periods where if the game isn't on their terms like that, they struggle to turn momentum. Is that a worry for him?
I think a little bit. I think that's a reflection, because the runner isn't able to actually get out as much as they were, so it's harder to send mesh from the box. So the players, and they made a grand final last year, so I think they're equipped with the things they need to actually change the course of a game. And now, more than ever, it's actually put on the players to actually control that out on the field, because the runner can't get out as much. So they're equipped with certain things, and again, Sydney they're a well-drilled team, well-coached, and played in the grand final last year. Don't forget that. So they would have the tools to do it and know how to do it. But it's one thing having them, but it's then another thing identifying it in a game situation, having the presence of mind to actually understand what's happening, how it's happening out there, and actually identifying it and then getting it done. So I think that's a bit more put on the players. So it wasn't really evident they were trying too many things. First half we saw the support for the defence, and then second half it was more support around the stoppage, make it equal numbers to give themselves the best chance and actually starve Geelong's forwards of opportunities, which they still didn't do anyway. So and to lose by nearly 100 points when you're a quality team like Sydney, like a lot of things have to go wrong. One tonight, personnel obviously is a clear one, so they're up against it, but then to put in the effort, I think the intensity, get belted by contested possessions by 21 again, it's like plus 60 odd in 2 games that they've played, as you may mention, in the space of 7 weeks, in 7 rounds of footy, that have been belted by Geelong in 2 games, so on average plus 30 odd. So, there's a game in a nutshell too, especially on a smaller ground, narrow ground. You're going to get more opportunities in a contest, and Geelong just belted them on both occasions and then had the first opportunity to go forward with Sydney being a vulnerable defence.
They're also the youngest team in the league last week, the Sydney Swans. Which,
they would be close to it again this week.
Yeah. Against the oldest premiership team we've ever seen. Geelong by 93 points full-time. Let's get into the winners' rooms. Lauren Borden is down there, the first home game for the Cats of the young season, and they start up big winners loss by 93 points.
They sure have. They'll enjoy being in these beautiful rooms that they do have here at Cardinia Park, well suited to the home side, as Tom Hawkins just gets a bit of a high five from his coach as well as he comes in. He's got his son in the circle with him playing here. So I think he's now second in the record holders for Geelong, just behind Joel Selwood. So they'll get his son, welcome him into the circle and get set to sing the song. He's going to start it for them.
Hey, we are Geelong. We're always on the ball. We play the game as it should be played. Hey, at home or far away. Now that's fine night. From home to down at Cardinia Park.
Thanks, Loz. We'll come back to you shortly. Geelong winners by 93 points. That was just workmanlike, that rendition of the theme song. Wasn't too much gusto and all of that. They kicked the last 9 goals of the game. Sydney goalless after half-time. As Loz mentioned, Tom Hawkins now outright second in the game's record list behind only Joel Selwood. Went past your mate tonight, Beach, in Corey Enright, who is now...
What other numbers? Sorry, you mentioned it.
So Enright's now 332. Hawkins goes to 333 tonight.
And sorry, what's Joel?
That's the next number.
355, I think it is.
A little way ahead.
So he did pass 350 late last year.
Good numbers. All in the modern era.
He's up to 355. Yep, there you go.
Good work, Rama.
Very good.
Just on the Swans as well, just quickly, that's their heaviest defeat since way back in 1998, round
Look at
10
the stats, man. Look at them go.
Yeah.
What else you got for us?
1998.
1998, round 10 against St Kilda. They lost by 101 points. Wow.
So
their biggest defeat since then.
What I'm looking at is what's coming back. So Rampy hopefully is soon. We're not sure on Paddy McCartan. Tom McCartan, still not too sure. Franklin, maybe.
What's wrong with Franklin? Excuse my
knee.
He's got a sore knee.
Yeah. Malikan trained this week.
Yep.
Sam Reid. No, he's still at least another fortnight away. Then Tom Hickey. So it's their tall stock that they just need to cut. They need to find 2 of them.
Yep.
But again, like you look at the tactic of what Sydney tried to do with Cal Mills tonight. It just simply didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't understand the point of having Pete Laddams and Hayden McLean. Like, you just got to say to Hayden McLean, well, you played forward. You know how to play that role. Tonight you're just going to have to play defence on Tom Hawkins, or Aaron Francis. You go and play in defence, and Hayden McLean, you play forward. Well, you look at the number. So Logan McDonald's had 3 possessions. Francis has had 5 possessions. McLean's had 13 possessions. Now McLean got a bit of the ball when he was up in the ruck, but at the end of the day, 10 goals, half the scores come from Cameron and Hawkins playing on undersized defenders in Fox and Mills.
Was a bit misleading too last week the way they ran away with it in the final quarter. I mean, it was
A
a
little
wet,
bit.
It was a wet game. Jack Rewalt kicked 4 on them, so it was.
I wouldn't say misleading, but
his best game.
maybe that took a bit out of them. You're travelling, Sydney and Adelaide, put the effort in the last quarter in wet conditions. There's that factor as well, and we're not sure about the detail or who comes in the team and how they're feeling. Like there could be a couple of guys sore, all that kind of thing. So it's hard. It's hard to judge, but from a Sydney team, I think particularly in their midfield, you just expect a little bit more and reflect. Even disposal numbers. You don't see this very often where. And it's a lower disposal ground, right, because you don't have the room and space to actually play more of that kick mark game. But 284 possessions, under 300 possessions for a team in any modern game.
Yeah.
That just proves the dominance.
Well, your leading possession winner there, B, just 21 possessions.
Yeah.
Which is extraordinary. Last week, Sydney went into that last quarter 7 points up. They kicked 7-4 to 1-3 in that last quarter. So it was still tight. It wasn't like, well, we're going to get these goals in sort of junk time. The game was still there and up for grabs. So Sydney took that game in the end.
Yep. But it was more the fact that the key forward for Richmond kicked 4.
Yeah. So there was already an issue
with the size of the back
beginning.
line. Yeah, and they kind of came in tonight thinking, we'll get away with it again. We won't play another big in defence. We'll roll the dice with Mills on Hawkins. And
Jack's not your traditional sort of tall. And I thought Robbie Fox did a reasonable job last week on Revolt, but I thought Jack had a really good game last week.
No,
it's just Richmond played a bit silly, kicking to a contest continually.
Different conditions.
Yeah, and it rained late in that game last week. Yeah.
So I know there's that problem too, but again, as I alluded to...
Back to the source.
They were belted around the ball, contested footy. They would have highlighted that, saying this, I'm sure, that we've got the slight advantage here, as good as blitz halves is, but our mid will back you in. And, with Parker, Warner's impact on the game tonight was really minimal.
Yeah.
Parker, 21 possessions, but not his impact around clearances in particular.
Alden was off, Heaney was off.
So there's a number of guys, so it all just happened at once, and then you got Mills. He's not able to spend the time in there, I think. But I think Florent and those types on the peripherals are kind of reflective of what's going on inside. Yeah. They're playing the role outside, holding the width. So I think that's more disappointing for Sydney tonight, just the impact of their mids, and they were convincingly beaten inside tonight in the contested area, which, as we know, it's the game, it's an easy throwaway line, but that gives you first use. That gives you first opportunity to go forward. And as I said, once they won that contested footy, their ability then to chain out of stoppages with effectiveness and lack of pressure, that's what really hurt them tonight.
I also think Geelong needed that win to go, we're still okay.
Yep.
I think they're playing against Hawthorn and West Coast last week. We all expected probably them to do what they actually did, and probably in the manner that they did. But I think tonight was the first true test, because the reality is, it was at round 1 against Collingwood.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They played well that night.
They were in front at three-quarter time.
Yeah. They played well that night. So
they lost by 8 points to Carlton. One or two things break this way. We're talking about a different team at the end of it.
And they were grinding the gears.
Yep.
In those games.
So have you seen enough in the last 3 weeks to suggest, obviously...
Tonight especially.
Yeah, that they're still going to be... a player in the season?
Yeah, tonight especially. Like I said, the last 2 weeks was okay. It's almost like we'll take the car in for a service to get it tuned up properly, and then tonight was okay. We've
take it out to the country roads.
Yeah, paid the bill. Paid the bill over the last couple of weeks. Let's see how it actually runs. And I think it ran pretty well tonight.
And they kept Sydney. What do you say? 40 inside 50s, and they have
54 themselves. 12
scoring shots. After half-time, they kicked 3 behind. So that's a hell of an effort defensively while kicking 9 unanswered goals at the other end. It's going to be an interesting month ahead. So they play Essendon. The Bombers will be coming off the short break, obviously, on the 5-day turnaround at the MCG next Sunday.
Country game?
That is the country game. Then they are back down here at Kardinia Park to play against Adelaide. Then Richmond, Fremantle, GWS, the Bulldogs.
It's a tough...
All at home. Surely not all at home.
No, so they have they play Adelaide at home, Richmond at the MCG, Fremantle in Perth, Giants at Kardinia Park, and then the Bulldogs at Docklands before they hit the bye. I think you could make the argument, though, that they would, on current form and the way they're going, they'd run favourite in just about all but one of those games, the way they're going. 93-point win, Geelong in the grand final rematch. Let's get back into the winners' rooms with Lauren Borden. Loz.
Thanks, Corby. I've got Mark Blitzarves here after the big win. You've obviously got 3 in a row. Bit of a slow start to the season. Internally, you would have known that you could turn it around, but how pleased are you that you're now showing it on the field in such a huge win tonight?
Yeah, it's a big occasion. Obviously, we're zipping 3, but we stayed composed, and we know we're going to continue to improve each week. So, big occasion. Sydney are a great side, so it's great to be back at home and get the win by that much, probably through our contest work and pressure.
It was a big occasion. Obviously, there was the flag unfurling before the match, and tonight kind of ran like a replica of the grand final, only at a different ground, at your home ground. It probably wasn't your expectations coming into the match, but how surprised were you how it went and how big the win was against the team you played in the grand final last year?
Yeah, well, we prepped really well. We've gone in with the right attitude. We didn't expect to do that, no way. But we know if we play the right way, we're going to be able to play some good football. And I thought we started really well, started the right way. And when we get it forward into our forward line, we've spoken about it previously. They're pretty damaging with Hawk and Jez, and I mean Ollie and Chucky are making some great contests. So we think we can score quite quickly, but it's just about playing the right way.
Your forward line's been working well all season, really, and particularly tonight. But can you tell me a little bit about the defence? You barely gave Sydney a chance to score tonight.
Yeah, they're working really well together. It's amazing to have Asava back there and see what he's been doing. We obviously know how athletic he is, but he's reading the ball really well, and he's one of the better marks in our side. So him and Sam DeConing are working really well together. They're finding a bit of chemistry, which is good, and I could name them all, but they're really gelling. So. They've got the attitude of continue to try and improve each week as well. And if we play our system, we know we can hold teams to lower scores.
Let's go upstairs now for some questions from Brendan Goddard and Adam Ramanauskas.
Mark, firstly, congratulations on the performance tonight. When did you find out John Segler wasn't playing?
I had to go get the cobwebs off the shin guard, that's for sure. It was probably pretty late in the piece, but... I'm more than happy to do that. I've played a bit of ruck this year already, and I played against Laddams when he was at Port and Sydney a couple of times, so I was pretty familiar with his game. And again, I just see that as a strength of mine, that if something happens in a team like that, I'm happy to fill that role, and Scotty's got that faith in me, which is good.
Well, when you do play that ruck role, you seem to take it upon yourself. We know how good of a runner you are, but it's like, you look at that ruck and go, I'm just going to take you wherever I want here in this game. And there was a couple of times, particularly in that early in the game, where Laddam simply couldn't keep up with you.
I try and play to my strengths, and one is I've come from a running background, so it is my running. So I think as I'm getting older, I'm just probably running a few more smarter patterns than in my first couple of seasons where I was running 18K for 3 touches. So... I'm happy with that, and the other thing is Laddams is able to get back in the hole, and he helps his defenders, and we didn't want him dropping in front of Hawk as much, so I had to try and engage him where I could, and I thought I did that okay early.
You spoke about staying composed at 0 and 3, but how did you do that during the week? Because there were a couple of little question marks sort of creeping in, and you had a couple of easy kills in Hawthorn and West Coast over the previous weeks, but tonight it just seemed like it clicked back into gear.
Yeah, we stay calm internally, and it's led by the coaches, their positivity. Obviously want to keep improving, keep maybe changing a couple of things because we're not winning, but we knew we were in with a chance all those 3 games. It's not like we got blown out, and when we got it on our terms, it wasn't like our system wasn't good enough. We knew it was, we just couldn't get the win early. So stay composed. Everyone's got the right attitude. They continue to try and improve their own game, and it's obviously there's no bigger, I suppose, motivation than coming back home for our first game of the season and talk about, I suppose, with Anzac Day coming up and Hawks now the second highest game for Geelong players. So great occasions to get motivated, and Sydney, who are an amazing opposition, it's pretty easy to try and fire up for this one.
Hey Mark, Brendan Goddard, well done on tonight's efforts. It must be really pleasing and provide a lot of confidence for the team when you go out with a clear plan, because I think that was pretty evident, and particularly I think it looks like you've got a model against Sydney that you know that works, but it must be really pleasing when you go out there with a plan and everything comes off.
Yeah, very much so. You sort of build that momentum, and you feel like the game's easy at times when you do get on your terms. But the trick is when oppositions kick 4, 5, 6 goals against us in a row, how do you swing it back the way you want it. So that's what we're always trying to work on. But I thought, again, led by the coaches, they scouted really well. We had the game plan to be physical, hard, get the ball going our way, and I thought we tackled really well, and obviously kicked the goals early, which put scoreboard pressure on.
Yeah, and it must be an easy thing too, knowing, because as a player, you know that you got the advantage forward with the undersized defence of Sydney. But back onto my question before, but then the reliance on your other forwards, which must be pleasing for you as a team and a teammate too. But the role of Close higher up the ground. Rowan tonight and his ability just to hold the others accountable, because you must have known that their Sydney defenders must have been supporting or wanted to support the smaller defenders in playing their role and trying to provide that third man support. But it must be pleasing knowing that those guys can play their role and the importance around their role.
Yeah, exactly right. Obviously being a little bit undersized with Rampy and the Cartons out tonight, we knew they were going to sort of try and focus on dropping a couple in with Jez and Hawk, and that's fine. We know they're good enough to win and make contests from that. But to have Ollie and Chucky be able to fly down the line, Pat if he goes forward, and then you mentioned the smaller blokes like Closey and Griner in great form, and they're one of their best runners at the club, so they can get up, turn their men back, and my housemate Sammy Simpson coming back from what he's dealt with some injury and concussion, to complement them as a high forward. It's very proud of him. So it's a great balance at the moment, and they're a good bunch of guys, the forwards.
Well, tell us about Sam Simpson then. You've seen it up close and personal, 603 days between games. What has he gone through?
Yeah, well, he's obviously had a few injuries, but the concussion mainly. So he's worked really hard on that. It's a nasty thing, and he's had obviously previous symptoms that have sort of plagued all of last season as well. So he's worked really hard on it, got his body right. I think he's feeling good and he's enjoying his football, and he's always positive. So great that the club gave him the opportunity again, because he's had some good form in the VFL, and great for him to take it, because he was nervous today. He was very, very nervous, but I was trying to calm him down a bit. But great for him to have impact, and I can see him. He's got a smile on his face right now.
You got to him pretty quick, as did everyone else once he kicked that goal to start the game.
Yeah, it's a good start, isn't it? And it creates the energy for everyone. So I thought that was real positive too. That not only the goals, there's a few smothers, big spoils, tackles that we really celebrated as a team. So that sort of gives us a bit of energy.
Last one, Mark, or last one from me. Do you want to jump in, Ray?
I want to jump in before. Yep. I just want to know what bottle of red wine you're opening tonight when you get home, Mark. 'Cause I know you like your red wine. Is there a special one for a Saturday night?
Yeah, I've just uncorked it in the locker room, actually. It's a 2013 Toupret from By Far. It's a Pinot Noir in the Bannockburn region of Geelong.
Oh, lovely.
Very nice. I thought you might have brought one back from South Australia.
That didn't get the call up today, but Scotty will no doubt be sniffing around for a glass.
I haven't got a serious one to finish either, Mark, but Cameron Ling's part of our crew on Grandstand AFL, of course, part of our Friday night team every week. He did hold a record, which you actually broke last year, as the player with the highest jumper number to win a premiership at number 46. We've never had anyone with number 46 or higher win a premiership in the past. So, first of all, were you aware of that? And secondly, why do you wear number 46? How did it start? Why do you do it?
No, I was not aware of that, and that's a great stat, and I'm very proud to have got that up my sleeve now. I was 48 when I first got to the club. Joffa Simpkin, who went to Hawthorn, was 46, and then me being a first-year player, got given 46, and I didn't think anything of it. Played my first game in it, and then I just thought I'd keep it.
I like it, making it your own. Mark, appreciate your time. Well done on the win tonight.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
All Australia Mark Blitzarf's with us from the Cats rooms. A 93-point win over Sydney in the grand final.
Another man that just realised you're a stats nerd. Useless stats.
That's good.
It's a good stat.
I like that one.
Well, you both are. Look at you.
Yeah.
What about just opening a bottle of red?
Is he joking there? Or?
No.
I don't think so. No.
So what? They'll just sit there in the rooms and like it's the end of a test match and enjoy a glass of red.
Yeah, but think about how
cool.
much
That's
swirl
cool.
it.
Think about very how much country footy down here in Geelong.
The boys are well aware of the swirl of the Merlot joke in AFL. So I actually saw Chris Scott. Won't drop names up at the golf course a couple of weeks ago, searching for answers at the bottle of a red.
What course is that, BJ?
Just insignificant country track.
Like you said to me at halftime, Beach, just watch your feet when you get up, all right?
No, mate, I did not drop anything there, unlike you, Ben. Do you want to tell that story to our listeners?
I've already told it too many times.
Have you? Yeah, the Rob Brooks, he's dropping names out there in golf. But no, I did say, no, I think that's actually doing a bit of a full circle return. I think the drinks in the change rooms. It's
just a way to wind down.
Yeah, responsible service of alcohol and drinking. Don't get us all wrong there, but just to sit around and actually celebrate a win.
Talk to your teammates.
Talk to your teammates. We know the
Family
social
might
side.
be in there as well.
And if you're often wondering, you heard them sing the song, and then there was a short break, and then we had the interview there as to what they do in the interim. Now we know he's gone out the back and uncorked the bottle of wine.
Yeah, he's just letting it breathe for a moment, Corby. He's got it in the decanter, and he's just waiting for the boys to come.
We've got just 4 minutes before we're off air. Saturday night, Grandstand AFL Sunday from 12 noon Eastern tomorrow. So the Cats winners here by 93 points. I won't ask BJ about this because he won't come with me, Rama, but you've been out of the game a little longer, and as the sort of sports guy commentary that we like to focus on these things and the psychological aspects of it all, there's got to be a little bit in it for Sydney, surely. If you get hammered by the same team twice in 7 games.
Yeah, I think there will be a little bit in it. So how did they play again this year? I'm not 100%.
Very good question.
They do. Round 16.
There you go.
Well, there you go.
Yes, CG.
Yeah, well, if it happens a third time, it's a definite. But what's amazing is it mirrored the grand final, which is very, very rare that it happens like that.
The votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year. Where are we headed, Ram?
Okay, I'll have a go.
You knew this was coming, mate. Do not say that you just dumped on this last minute, Corbin. This is pretty obvious.
One to
here it goes.
1 to Tom Hawkins, 2 to Jeremy Cameron, and 3 to Paddy Dangerfield tonight.
Ooh. Do you want to elaborate as to why?
Hawkins 5, Cameron 5, both very, very good, very unselfish in that forward line. I thought Paddy Dangerfield tonight, the way he worked through contests, the way he was able to take the ball forward, 7 inside.
I think
50s,
Rowbottom
31.
was actually going to Dangerfield too, probably after the first quarter.
Yeah, Danger had 13 score involvements for the game, just far more than the next best on the ground was 7, and that was Cameron and Brad Close. So he was terrific tonight, Paddy Dangerfield, with the 3.
3 for Danger, 2 for Cameron, 1 for Hawkins. I have this thing going in the competition at the moment where it feels like everyone's trying to work out who the best player in the game is. And my theory is that it's either Jeremy Cameron, Patrick Cripps, or Marcus Bontempelli. And the answer is whichever one of the 3 you've seen play last. And so this morning we all woke up and
whoever played well last.
We thought, how good was
the best.
Marcus Bontempelli last night? And then you come here tonight and watch Jeremy Cameron. You think there's no one in the competition that can do that, and we get a chance to watch.
People have
Patrick Cripps
short
tomorrow.
memories. Like, do you know what I mean?
But it feels like whichever order you have them, you've got those 3 in whatever order you wish to stack them. Is that fair?
Pretty happy with those 3.
Beach? Yep. He doesn't
BJ,
buy into any of this.
Developing at the Saints. He's got Filippo, then Mitch Owens.
Cal Wilkie's going pretty good.
Just take it one week at a
Rowan
time
Marshall.
and sort of see what happens next.
Brad Crouch is a mid. He's going all right.
Grandstand AFL Sundays on tomorrow from 12 noon Australian Eastern Time. So we've got 3 games to pull apart. The majority of the round is ahead of us. So we're only 4 games down with 5 to come, obviously, with footy on Monday night with Richmond and Melbourne. And then again on Tuesday for the Anzac Day blockbuster between Essendon and Collingwood. Cats winners by 93 points earlier today. Brisbane by 21 over GWS. Charlie Cameron kicked 7. And Port Adelaide by 40 points over West Coast with Connor Rosie best to field. Thanks to Jules McKenzie, our tech. Thanks to the cult figure Adam Jones back in the studio. Thanks to Lauren Borden downstairs. Thanks to you, Ben Cameron.
Thanks, Corby.
Thanks, BJ. Good luck tomorrow with the Saints.
Yep. Thanks, Sandy Zebras as well. Let's not forget about them. VFL, if you're in the area, come down to Icon Park. See the boys. We've got 10 AFL listed players playing this week, so we're getting a few back.
Season high?
Yes, by 4 or 5.
Absolutely.
Will I see you, Who am I seeing Monday?
Ben.
Benny.
Ben will be part of that.
Babyface, Cameron. Look at him.
Very exciting.
The Melburnian.
Huge game tomorrow. We'll have coverage of that. Obviously, the game between Carlton and St Kilda from Docklands. Thanks to Adam Ramanauskas. Full time in the grand final rematch. Cats big winners again by 93. Good night.